Am I the asshole for saying good job after my kid defended herself from a bully by punching him? I need to see if I'm crazy here. My kid, female 13, has a bully. He's one of those kids who's related to someone in the school district. We've had multiple issues with this kid harassing mine, but my kid is bullied a lot, sadly. We're actually switching her into a new school because the public schools have been doing nothing, and this past semester, it got physical. The bully pushed her, and she stumbled back. Fortunately, only scratches, but I was livid. The bully got suspension, but he's been suspended before. I tried talking to the parents, and they make excuses, of which the wildest is that they'll probably end up together someday because of how they argue. I told them, under no certain terms, that their son is not to even look at my daughter, and his only words to her need to be an apology. I got the, well, he's suspended, so what else do you want, argument. This summer, she was in STEM camp. She begged to be signed up, but so was the bully, and this time, during their outdoor break, the teacher was physically on his phone when the bully, in full view of multiple students, pushed my daughter, and she turned and punched him in the stomach. The bully is now up for possible suspension from the camp, not the district, but I lodged another formal complaint this time, threatening a lawsuit. I asked my daughter if she defended herself, and she said she was afraid he was going to hurt her because he threatened to knock her out. I said, okay, good job defending yourself, I'm glad you're okay. Let's just catch a movie and decompress. I told my siblings on Father's Day and was immediately told by my eldest brother and his wife that I should never have encouraged her to fight anyone. I argued that I didn't. I'm glad she defended herself when she was scared, and the person that I trusted her care to was not even paying attention. They argue that now she'll see punching people as okay the next time she gets her feelings hurt, and that I'm a bad parent for opening that door. Am I? I mean, if she's in trouble and in physical danger, I don't want her to ever think that she'll get in trouble for defending herself, but now I'm second-guessing everything. She's seemingly okay now, and I took the week off so we can celebrate Juneteenth together and just decompress from it, but I want her to grow up and be safe. Am I the asshole here for saying good job? In the comments, Emotion87 says, not the asshole. I've always told my children to never start the fight, but if a kid starts some shit and puts hands on you, you have every right to finish it. Self-defense is self-defense. My older brother was constantly picked on by the school bullies. Like all of them. My dad encouraged self-defense, and so every time he ended up in the principal's office, with the principal telling my dad he needed to make my brother stop fighting. My dad's response? Well, it's your job to protect my son from bullies here at school. If you're not going to do your job, I'm not going to tell my son he can't defend himself. This world's a dangerous place with a lot of nasty people out there. Self-defense is an absolute right. Not the asshole. The bully got exactly what they deserved. I wish more parents were like you. I was bullied by a boy when I was in middle school. He kept escalating until one day he hit me hard enough in the face to absolutely smash my nose and broke my glasses. It was so bad that I had to have surgery so I could breathe out of my nose again. Turns out, I actually had fractures in my orbital bones as well. School did nothing. My parents sued the shit out of his parents and the school. The bully came back the next year. I was in the process of moving to a private school and tried again with me. I maced the shit out of him in his face. This was back in the 90s. Hands down, best day of my life. You did good. Your daughter will remember this. Even now, I won't start anything, but you'll be damn sure that I'll finish it. There is no problem with defending yourself. Back up to the post, there's an edit. Holy shit, that's a lot of comments. Editing some typos, and also clarifying some questions and assumptions, as I can't answer that many comments tonight. 1. Multiple students confirm her story. So no, I don't think she's lying and started a fight for no reason. She's as level-headed as they come, and I won't say that she's never lied to me, but I will say that I tend to know when she does. 2. Cameras are being checked because I formally requested today. 3. I'm not a dad, but a mum. And 4. Not everyone agreed with my brother, but enough of them did that made me question, and he and his wife were very insistent. Well, it sounds to me like all of these people, and him and his wife, have never had to deal with some bullshit like this, and if they had, and they don't condone self-defense, then they are throwing their children to the wolves, and they are condoning the bully and allowing it to happen, enabling their children to be bullied. Actually, I'm 100% on OP's side for this one. If one day I have kids and they are the target of bullies in this way, I'm going to say, do exactly as OP's child has done. If they start it, if they lay their hands on you, you beat the shit out of them, and I will be there standing side by side with you, applauding you for standing up for yourself and not taking shit. Self-defense is self-defense. Do not tell a child not to defend themselves. You are going to mess that child up. And I think those people that disagreed with OP, sure, they can have their perspective on it, but I don't think they're correct. So yeah, I would like OP to know that I agree with them. And now, onto the update. So about a week ago, I posted about a bully sitting with my kid who was female 13. And I mentioned this bully is a relative of someone who works high up in our district. I went into a meeting with the district after my formal request for the camera footage of the event, and I continued to follow up via email and call, but kept getting stonewalled. I was frustrated, so I spoke to my BFF who works in education, and she suggested a police report would, quote, put a Bunsen burner under their asses. She was right. Once I had a copy of my report for the assault, and armed with all of my past complaints and emails with the resource officer of the kid's school, I sent it to my point of contact with the district. It's a frickin' miracle. I got a call the same day. A meeting was arranged, and I meet with them next week. Juneteenth was wonderful, and my kid had a blast. She hasn't been punished, and honestly, I was really enjoying spending time with her, so we took advantage of the time. Saw a movie, went shopping, etc. I work a lot and am a single mum, so free time outside the general weekends has been rare as of late, especially now that she's doing camps, making friends, and wanting to do sleepovers and such. I posted some photos on my private account, and my brother sent me a text. I won't go into everything because his message was long, but basically he said that I'm spoiling her when she should be punished for fighting in school, and I will be raising a criminal. I told him that he can mind his business and his own children, and he said, she's not even really yours. And I lost it. My message back was that he's not been supportive since my husband died, and come to think of it, he wasn't supportive when we married. So I don't take his opinion on my daughter with any high regard. And if he and his wife want to instill in children that they should let someone hurt them or others, and bullies should have their way, then maybe it's time we spent less time around them. We were going to go to the birthday party of my sister-in-law before all of this happened, a family event. I think my daughter and I will skip that for now. And before it's asked, she's not biologically my daughter, but legally, and in the way of the fact that I love her more than anything. I formally adopted her when she was 2, after I married her father. He passed away when she was 6, and I've had sole custody since. Her biological mother is not in the picture. Since my husband passed, it's just been me and her in the day-to-day. I hope to update after the school meeting. And now, on to update 2. We had the meeting over Zoom. I came in expecting to have to come in guns blazing like a maniac. I was ready to go off, go fully feral, but I guess all of the legal work that I've been doing around this was sufficient fire under their rears. I was indirectly asked to not further involve authorities. The footage finally found proved my daughter's story. With this evidence, and all of the stuff that I've managed to bring to the table, plus having a lawyer's contact info sent to them, they finally expelled the kid. I was assured that he will not be at the school next semester. It was a win, but not enough for me to stop the legal actions. Maybe that makes me the asshole, but screw it. I don't care. Charges are being pressed for assault armed with the video. Here it's not life-ruining unless he keeps the pattern of abuse. But I'm also looking to get my kid in a STEM-oriented school since that's her passion right now. I looked at packages and tuitions, etc., and it'll be tight but doable. And I truly believe that she's gifted, smart, and hard-working enough that giving her a chance to explore this is worth any inconvenience. That should be it, right? Oh, you sweet summer child. My daughter doesn't even know about the meeting. She's been happily in camp elsewhere during the day, but a few days ago she asked me, "Mama, "Do you think I'm a bad person?" And I told her that I didn't. She asked me why does her uncle think so, and I asked her what she meant. My beloved brother's stepson has been texting my daughter as they're actually close. Brother has been shit-talking my kid. He calls her my stray kitten and not real family. That effing did it. I'm having a barbecue at my place for July 4th, and I formally uninvited him and his wife. I sent him a text stating that the way that he treats me and my kid is simply unacceptable. I am a mum, and my duty is to my kid. I cannot have someone who looks down on her and treats her badly come into her home where she is to be safe. He is not a safe person for my child, and thus not welcome in my home. My brother lost his mind on me so badly that I had to mute his number for a while to get some peace. He started with put-downs and insults, but he then went for my kid. He called her some terrible things and then said that I'm brain dead for keeping my stray after all of the trouble she's made. I just said, wow, what's your problem with her, really? You're doing the effing most to hate her. Like, how does a grown man get off hating a literal child? He told me to F off, so I sent screenshots to Mum. Yeah, I tattled. I'm grown. I don't give a shit anymore. Screw this guy. He's my brother, I love him, but I don't like him, and if he's gonna show his whole ass, I may as well fetch Mum so she can pull his stick out of it. That was an hour ago. My kid and I headed out for pizza. Have fun, bro. He better be glad that it's our mum and not me about to hand him his own hind. Tonight, I'll try to talk to my daughter about the school, and sadly that uncle and auntie are grade A liquid shits. I won't use that phrase, but I'm pissed, and so won't be around and maybe taking some time with just her and me. We are a team, me and her against the world. I will always have her back. Oh, and she and I will together be taking Krav Maga, or Krav Maga. Thanks for the suggestions. With the bully dealt with, I think this is my final update. So I wanted to say thanks to everyone who kept this mama sane and was supportive. It's crazy how simple, kind, and affirming words can bolster a person. For those who've shared stories online of being bullied, I'm sorry you went through that, and as for your bullies, may a popcorn kernel be lodged in each tooth and unreachable every single day. Love, as always, Xavi and V. In the comments, Sowing Mayhem says, so he's adopted himself and he has a stepson, yet still calls her daughter, who she's been raising for over a decade, a stray kitten and not family? If I was his wife, I would be making arrangements for childcare in case of my death, because apparently if she dies, it 100% would be cool for him to abandon her son. Wow, yeah, huge not the arsehole. I got in trouble at school a few times. Once was a friend being harassed by a kid with a spider. She was very afraid of them. I got the teacher, and she said to solve it ourselves. So I kicked the kid so hard he got bruises. Office call, and Mum heard the whole story and took me for an ice cream. Very fair in her punishments. When my siblings got involved with some fellow teen arsonists, just a hairspray flame, no lasting damage, she took the suspension to watch a documentary together on burn victims and discuss the adult issues of playing with fire. Yeah, look, if they're doing something that's genuinely messed up, you go and you educate them on why what they're doing is bad and harmful, and why they shouldn't do pack mentality that leads to shit like arson. I really do feel like a lot of us have known people that do stupid shit like arson, and how that can and does lead to out-of-control damage that can kill people or permanently injure others or just destroy whatever it is they're burning. That is one example of behavior. If your child has no reason to be beating the shit out of someone else at school, obviously you clamp down on that. But I think it was hilarious that we got this extra side story of the brother just coming in and shitting on OP when he himself is in the exact same situation as her. So yeah, he deserves to have his ass beat for that. And I'm glad that OP tattled on her mum because yeah, let's hope that OP's mum will beat the shit out of him for that one and put him in his place. He deserves to be put in his place. What is wrong with this grown man calling her a stray? Just disgusting behavior all around. What, because he didn't get his way when he was handing out advice and she didn't listen to him? So, you know what? OP and her daughter are just the worst pieces of shit in the world, and I'm gonna go completely unhinged on them. Just sad. It's just sad to see people act like that. I know there's more to address in this story, like I'm very much happy that OP won the court case. Thank you, OP, for doing that for your daughter, and thank you for continuing to press charges after the fact. You don't just let it go because he got expelled. No, I want this on his record. Screw him. He doesn't get extra protection because someone else is much higher up in the school system and on the board. No. I would want these charges to follow that kid, so the next time anything like this happens, yeah, that's it. Criminal charge. You're in jail, buddy. Have fun with that. Am I the asshole here for refusing to give my ex full access to my life just because we co-parent? I, 25 female, have a 6-month-old baby with my ex, 24 male, and we've been trying to co-parent since we split a few months ago, but now he's saying that I'm being an asshole for not telling him everything I do when the baby isn't even with me. We were together from high school, 2015, up until recently. Our breakup happened shortly after I gave birth, when I found out that he had been cheating on me with multiple women. His excuse? That I wasn't being sexual enough postpartum and he had a high libido. Yeah, that was enough for me to walk away. Since then, I've been rebuilding my life. I got more involved in my church, formed new friendships, and started feeling like myself again for the first time in a while. I've also done everything that I can to keep things calm and respectful for the sake of our baby. But now he's making it an issue that I don't share enough details about my personal life with him. He says I should be more transparent and that it's important for co-parenting. He wants to know who I'm hanging out with, what I'm doing, who my new friends are, even if I'm just out while he has the baby. His reasoning? Well, he tells me about what he's doing, so I should do the same. But here's the thing. I've never asked him of any of that information. He voluntarily tells me, I'm about to hang out with this girl, or I've been seeing someone new, even when our child is not in his care at the time. It's his personal time, and I've told him that I don't need or want those updates, yet now he's acting like because he shares that information with me, that I owe him the same level of openness, even though I've never requested it and it's unrelated to our child. He's also been following some of my new friends on social media and asking me questions about them. My account is private, so I don't know how he's even finding them. I suspect he's using a burner account, or he's viewing my church's page, who posts pictures of me and the people that I hang out with at times. I had to ask them to stop posting me. We have a photography team that takes pictures during service or after service and posts them online for media purposes. For a while, because I believe he was using those posts to find my friends and to follow them. He's never reached out to any of them, but the whole thing feels really creepy and invasive. It's crossing a boundary for me. I've talked to some friends about this, and their opinions are mixed. Some says he has a point that we should be transparent with each other since we share a child, and others think that he's overstepping and that isn't a part of normal co-parenting, especially since our child hasn't met any of these people and that I'm not dating anyone right now. Even my mum is siding with him. She's liked him since we were together in high school, and anytime we argued, she tended to take his side and ask what I did wrong. Now she's saying I should be open about who I'm hanging out with to better co-parent. That makes me question myself even more. I'm not trying to be an asshole or difficult. I believe in healthy boundaries. If someone's going to be around my child, I'll share that, but just living my life and seeing friends when my baby isn't with me, I don't think I owe him a play-by-play. So now I'm wondering, am I the asshole here for keeping parts of my life private from my child's father when it doesn't involve our child? In the comments, Lucky Guess says, "Bullshit. Your mum is wrong. You're a strong, independent woman who is entitled to lead her own life. You do not owe an explanation to anyone, not your parents, your ex, or even your child. He's a loser who can't keep it in his pants. Let him show everyone he's the arsehat that he is. Tell your mum that you are not available for any discussions about your parenting situation. Follow that with you are absolutely tired of criticism and blame. Put her on a strong information diet. In fact, remove anyone from your life who is not a cheerleader. The obvious exception being your ex. It sounds like you already have a good info diet in place with him. I do not understand parents who do not support their children. Why is she so supportive of your ex but not you? That's just shitty. Not the asshole. If I were into betting, I'd be pretty confident in betting on OP's mum being the one giving the ex info about what she's doing. I'd be making the same wager. Any information that OP doesn't want the ex to know should also be kept from her mother and from anyone who would discuss OP's life with the mother. No matter how the mother gets info about OP's life, her insistence that OP should share such things with the ex means that she herself will happily share things that OP would have kept to herself. Not the asshole. No. From this point forward, any words that come out of your mouth that aren't directly about our child will not be acknowledged. She needs to use a parenting app so everything is recorded. And OP says, I didn't even think about a parenting app. That's actually such a good idea. I'm definitely gonna look into that. I'm on the commenters' side for this. No, you're not the asshole for refusing to give your ex full access. Everyone that says otherwise is insane. I don't know how your mum is coming to this conclusion that he deserves to know these things. Like, honestly, what has he done to earn that? He cheated on you and broke the relationship up when you were in postpartum. This whole relationship continued on very rocky foundations, and she was forced into continuing to interact with him because they had a child together. If the child wasn't in the mix, he'd be last decade's news. But unfortunately not. This is the situation they're in. He chose to do that. He made his bed, he has to sleep in it, and now he's pushing those boundaries because he's like, well, I share with you, so I think that's enough for you to share with me. The mum is delusional, he is delusional, he's a piece of shit, and if it is true that the mum is the one conveying this information to the ex, she needs to be put on an extremely low information diet as well, and she's a piece of shit for doing that. Because yeah, if I were twice the betting man that I were now, I'd put double the money on the mum being the one that is giving that information to the ex. Obviously the Facebook account thing could happen. That is one possibility. I just genuinely think, given the mum's attitude about this, she wants them to get back together. She will be feeding him this information. So yeah, not the asshole. And now, onto the update. Hello again. I didn't expect my original post to get the kind of attention that it did, but I just wanted to post a quick update and say thank you to everyone who took time to comment, give feedback, and share resources. This whole situation has been overwhelming, and your support really gave me the confidence to start seeing things more clearly. Unfortunately, things have taken a turn. During our most recent drop-off, my child's father started demanding once again that I tell him where I go, who I'm with, and who I hang out with in my personal time, even when our child isn't with me. I stood my ground, and I told him very plainly that I'm not interested in hearing about his personal life, and I'm not obligated to share mine either. Unless it's a conversation directly involving our child, I'm not engaging. He then responded by saying, and I tried to cut this conversation off beforehand to no avail, that if I have friends over at my apartment, even if it's just a hangout, or if I attend church events, that he wants to be physically present during those moments to monitor who's around our child. He then said that if I don't start sharing more about what I do and who I'm with, he's going to pursue full legal and physical custody. I've never really been through the legal system before, but I'm going to reach out to a caseworker or a family attorney this coming week. A lot of people had follow-up questions or offered suggestions, so I just wanted to respond to a few things that came up repeatedly. I've started looking into parenting apps and legal steps. That was something that I hadn't really considered before or really knew much about, but after how things have gone so far, I know it's necessary. To those asking about my mum, yeah, that dynamic has always been hard. She's sided with him since high school. Even when I told her about the cheating, she responded with, well, men don't cheat for no reason. It's been tough realizing that she's not the kind of support system I need, but I'm distancing myself emotionally and being more careful with what I share. Jesus Christ, your mum and him are such trash. I hate these people. As for the jealousy and manipulation theory, a lot of people have pointed out that he might be trying to make me jealous by constantly bringing up other women, and I agree. I also think he's using this so-called honesty and straightforwardness as a guise to get information about my personal life. This does feel manipulative because he's creating a one-sided demand for transparency. Now, we don't have a custody agreement in place yet, but I'm taking steps to speak with a caseworker or attorney. Some suspect my mum may be giving him information, and honestly, I wouldn't doubt it. She and my ex are still friends on Facebook. There have been instances where he knows things that weren't posted publicly but were known by her. Again, thank you all for helping me feel seen and less crazy in all of this. If anyone has experience navigating custody arrangements or parenting apps, please share. Also, if you've ever had to juggle expenses from situations like this, going to court/seeking legal representation, any advice is greatly appreciated. In the comments, I'm glad you're taking the necessary steps. One piece of advice: put your mum on an information diet. Expect that anything you say to her will be shared with your ex. Your ex won't get sole custody purely because you won't share your personal life with him. Just focus on what's best for your child and document the shit out of everything. Dates, times, context. Keep all messages and voicemails too. You never know what will help. Or start lying to mum. Mum's on an information diet, yeah, a false information diet. Your mum is telling him everything. Limit her access to your social media and put her on an information diet. Speak to the caseworker to make custody situation official to stop him from kidnapping your child. Look into the parenting app and consider a restraining order as his behavior keeps escalating. Also, are you going out on dates or seeing someone just now? As if this is the case and you told your mum, that will mean he will probably escalate to stalking you as well. Good luck, and I hope you get a positive outcome. OP says, I'm not dating or seeing anyone, but my ex thinks I am. I don't know why he thinks that, but he's convinced. Well, he thinks that because you are standing up to him and enforcing boundaries. It's very common for men who don't respect women to assume another man is secretly controlling the situation if they aren't able to bully a woman into obeying. I can definitely see that being the justification for why he is doing what he is doing. That instant escalation into, well, I'm gonna seek full custody for our child, is absolute madness, and the fact that you guys didn't have a formal custody agreement before this is also madness to me. I truly don't believe in giving these people the benefit of the doubt. There's a reason why custody agreements exist, you know? People can turn. People change. It's been a decade since that guy cheated on you. Did you really think that he was going to change for the better? Did you really think he wasn't going to be a piece of shit? Because look, now that you didn't back your ass up from the get-go with a formal custody agreement, now he's making legal threats and can and possibly will kidnap your child. That's what this leads to, and he is just gearing up as much as he can to control and manipulate you, OP. It's really not a good situation. You don't deserve this. Your mum has enabled this. So many people have failed you on the way to getting where you are now. And I really do hope that you take the advice of the comments to set yourself up for success in this situation. This doesn't have to end in tragedy. This can be a success story where you get a restraining order against his escalating abusive behavior, and hopefully he doesn't end up stalking you, but it kind of sounds like he might. And in that case, I don't even think your mum would mind that. She'd be like, look how supportive and loving he is as a co-parent. Look, he's just making sure the kid's safe. You should just get back with him. That's totally normal and cool behavior. Again, those two piss me off. I hope that you put some extreme boundaries between you, your mother, and this piece of shit man. Thank you for the story. Keen to see what happens next. Our next post is by user Princess Protect, and it's titled, Am I the asshole here for calling out my husband for changing up the rules in our open marriage? I, 35 female, am in an open relationship with my husband, 36 male. It was over the summer that he mentioned it to me. I wouldn't say that I was totally for it, but it took some getting used to. Now everything's going great, but recently my husband kept changing the rules. Once I started dating Evan, 45 male, that's when he started acting differently. My husband and I agreed on a don't ask, don't tell policy, but he keeps pestering me about the details of our relationship. I give him a little bit here and there, but never the explicit stuff. Everything positive I mention about Evan, he downplays or critiques. Last week I planned a date with Evan and asked him to watch the kids. He agreed. He was to get back home by 9, but texted me that he's doing overtime that night. I was left scrambling for a sitter at the last minute. This isn't the first time he's done this, but luckily this time I got a hold of a sitter, but I couldn't stay as long as I was hoping for. Afterwards, he acted as if everything was okay. He began policing me when I left the house and began picking my outfits apart, expressing concern about how the neighbors would perceive me. To avoid conflict, I started wearing jackets to cover up before heading out. Then came the issue of Evan dropping me off. He worried about the neighbors seeing a stranger's car pull up at night. This forced me to do lunch dates. It wasn't a bother, and I would bring my laptop to Evan's and work at his place. However, I preferred the dinner dates because I got a chance to dress up more. Changing up the times seemed to alleviate some tension, but I still feel like I was compromising too much. He didn't even want me to drive to the dates, but when Evan pays for an Uber or drops me off, it's an issue. It makes no sense. The breaking point was when Evan sent flowers to the house. My husband lost it, claiming that it's dangerous for a strange man to know our address when we have kids inside. I will say that he was right about this. I did drop the ball, however, and he insisted that I shouldn't bring home any gifts at all going forward, arguing that it violated our don't ask, don't tell rule. He used to joke about me not getting chivalry in my open relationship, and now that I'm getting dates, it's a big deal? I asked him if he doesn't take the women he sleeps with on dates, and he said no. It's strictly sex, and none of that lovey-dovey bullshit that I'm doing. I confronted my husband about these rules, and he just brushed it off like it was nothing, saying that it's just a respect thing, and I was really enjoying this, but he's sucking the fun out of it, and it just feels highly stressful. In the comments, my Weechikin says, "Your husband wanted to have a wife and still sleep with whomever he liked. He didn't want that for you. Come on now, surely you realize that." I think he's jealous that another man is showing his wife a better, more romantic time than he is, or maybe even has ever shown her. Not the asshole. Your husband wants him to have an open relationship. But you? Not so much. From reading on here, that happens a lot. In both directions, no matter the gender. The one proposing the open relationship never likes that their partner also has an open relationship. Probably because the one that proposes the open relationship is doing that because they've stopped appreciating their current partner. Then they get blindsided that other people find things attractive in their partner that they themselves have stopped seeing. True, it's very much a tale as old as time in situations like this. And I don't know, I feel like if you're going to lock your partner down and police them this much when you're the one that opened the marriage or relationship up, you should just break up with them. You don't have respect for them to put them on the same level as you in terms of the open relationship and open marriage. You're jealous that someone else is playing with your toy and that you can't stand sharing, but they should be able to stand your sharing with other people. They should be able to respect that somehow. Like, I understand when open marriages and open relationships do work. I'm all for that. If you can navigate that world and be able to cohabitate in it as a couple and grow stronger as a result, or just not have your relationship fall apart like in these situations, absolutely, go for your life. But when situations like this come out, I just think you should break up because you're destroying the trust that founded your relationship, and I don't believe that it can go back to how it was before. I feel like you're lying to yourself if you truly believe that it can. So no, not the asshole for calling out your husband for changing up the rules. He's a piece of shit for continually moving goalposts. And now, on to the update. You guys were right. This was a shit show, and I'm not sure where to start, but we're getting a divorce. He did in fact not change and became way more possessive and controlling while changing the rules. Everything I did was either wrong or inconsiderate. Evan had planned a weekend trip to Cabo to celebrate a new business venture. I asked my husband if he was okay with it weeks in advance. He enthusiastically agreed, mentioning that I deserved the trip and he even told me to make sure that I flood his phone with pics. I told him I was going to stay with Evan the night before for easier commute. He insisted on taking me to the airport instead, since it was our last night until Tuesday. However, when it was time to leave, he overslept. Despite urging him to get up to the point that I pulled the covers off and turned off the aircon, he spent an entire hour in the bathroom. Then to make matters worse, he didn't fill the tank. I told him the evening before. I called an Uber, which was another hour late, but luckily I got to enjoy my trip. I let it slide and moved on. But boy oh boy, I wish I never went on that trip because things got worse. It was like I was being punished for the trip. He became incredibly invasive in my personal relationships. He wanted to know what my sex life with Evan was like, if he was better, etc. He used to play it off like it was not a big deal to him, but then I caught him snooping through my phone. It was too much. I didn't understand because Evan was no longer the only man I was seeing, but Evan triggered him the most. If that wasn't enough, he had his friends over for a boys' night. I was getting ready for girls' night, and before I left, he said out loud, "You really gonna leave me to go fuck him?" in front of his friends. The embarrassment and humiliation I felt, even typing this. I just sat in my car and cried so much, and that's when I knew that it was done. He apologized and mentioned he was drunk, and I don't buy it one bit. He has never acted like this. This open relationship has left me drained mentally and emotionally, and it wasn't even my idea to begin with. I have filed for divorce, but he keeps begging for reconciliation, but I can't. Before anyone comments, I know you told me so. In the comments, he didn't want an open marriage, he wanted your permission to sleep with others while you were not allowed to do the same. Not the asshole then or now. Enjoy yourself. This, not the asshole. OP, if he ever says anything in front of people again, call him out and say he's the one who wanted to open the relationship. Your husband wanted to sleep around and didn't realize that you'd be having fun too. I also wonder if it's not working out for him as much as he hoped it would. He wanted an open marriage in which you stayed home and waited for him, and he dated and had sex outside the marriage, but instead, you got more attention from a man who makes more money and sounds like a nice person. This was not part of the plan. You were supposed to sit home and pine and be miserable. A divorce sounds like a good idea. Unfortunately, this is not the first story that I've read here on Reddit whereby one partner, more often than not the male, wants an open relationship, but doesn't really want the woman to engage with other partners. However, they're left shocked, upset, and hurt when the woman has 1 to 3 partners, and the male, or sometimes the female partner, wants to close the relationship or divorce. Sad. You just think that with this many stories of it not working out in this day and age, that people would come and do more research online before agreeing to an open relationship? Like, I can understand a while ago, before things like this were more prevalent online, and before there was not as many open and honest stories about how these things go, I can see, like, giving it a pass then. But it's 2025. We have hundreds of stories of this same situation playing out like it does, and most of the time it just ends in divorce. If not, it just ends up as the other partner being unhappy with the relationship closing up again, and then being blamed by the partner that opened the relationship for everything happening the way that it does. Like, it seems like the one that opens it up never takes personal accountability. I don't know. These situations suck all around, and you kind of always know the outcome. Has anyone really seen a situation here on Reddit where there was a different outcome? Because I can't remember one off the top of my head. Regardless, thank you for the story, OP. Thank you for the update. I hope you and Evan are able to build something better than what you left behind here. Good luck. My wife has given up on our child. I'm not sure how to reconcile. How do I move past this? My 27 male family is broken, and I'm trying to reassemble the pieces. I need advice. For context, my wife, 29 female, and I, are childhood sweethearts, married now for around 5 years. I know we became parents and got married pretty young, but we have made it work. My wife is a small business owner. She turned a passion into a career. I'm really happy for her. When she started, I promised her that since my work hours were flexible, I would hold things down at home so that she could focus on building her business. We were a team until we weren't. My wife is an extreme workaholic, and it's come between our family. We are not in a good place. Our daughter's caregiving is solely on me. The time my wife and daughter spend together is made up mostly of short replies or silence. Our daughter isn't disrespectful, she's a good kid, she's just not as comfortable with her mom. My wife and I have had a lot of talks about the state of our family. With the business well off the ground and her not needing to personally oversee everything as often, we're working on reconnecting. But it's been an uphill battle. Recently, we had a big fight. She told me she's given up on trying with our daughter. She said she's just not good at it, and she's just going to stay in her lane. I told her she couldn't decide to clock out on our daughter during rocky stints. She said she's emotionally exhausted from repeatedly striking out. She feels that she can't do anything right in our daughter's eyes. She said I have it easy, that our daughter prefers me, and even made sure that her whole class knew it. The class jab was about a school assignment. Our daughter had to interview someone that she admired, and she asked me. My wife was hurt, and she still feels a way about it. She accused me of not understanding. She comes home to a child she carried, not respecting her, that our daughter is an expert critic when it comes to her. She went into a huge rant. The way she talked about her rubbed me the wrong way. Something, your mum is your first biggest hater? I told her most of her complaints weren't our daughter's creation. She asked me what that meant, and I laid out that she hasn't gone out of her way to connect with our daughter. She shut me down. She went into how she busts her ass for our family, and the least I could do is show up for her. All I do is show up for her, including holding down responsibilities that we are supposed to share. We are not childless. It's no longer those me and her against the world days. I need to show up for our daughter too. She just kept saying that she has a lot on her plate and how I'm supposed to be her piece. I refuted the only piece that ever seemed to matter these days was hers. She said our daughter and I are two of a kind and began sarcastically apologizing for her sacrifices, and if the business is what's driving us apart, then she'll renounce it. She would make do. I asked if we could skip her martyr routine and actually talk. The fight only escalated. I called the fight a complete waste of time, but she interpreted that as me calling her a waste of time. It was the worst fight we had had in a while. Our daughter was at her grandparents', so she didn't hear anything. We're at an impasse. Things are still tense. I don't know how to clear the air or how to reach her about our daughter. She can't dismiss her like some disgruntled customer at work. In a lot of ways, I feel like a single parent. I don't believe that she's being honest with herself about our issues. She's a distant figure who has a habit of talking at our daughter instead of to her. There's a lot of broken promises. Nothing ever mended. She doesn't try engaging. Our daughter loves anime, but my wife doesn't hold back on overly criticizing it in front of her. Our daughter got into K-pop, but to my wife it's just bothersome noise around the house or in the car. Our daughter has stage fright, yet she joined the school play because she knows her mum loves theater. My wife promised her that she would come, but she didn't. The worst part was seeing our daughter realize she wasn't. My wife never apologized. She gave her "work was busy, I promise next time" speech. She offered to bring our daughter with her on Take Your Child to Work Day. I thought it would be good for them and a chance for our daughter to see more of what her mum does, but our daughter called me upset and wanted me to pick her up. She said her mum had immediately left her with a subordinate and went AWOL. When my wife checked in on her, they fought. She told our daughter that a bratty attitude won't be tolerated in her workplace. She and I had it out later. She apologized to our daughter and blamed blowing up on work frustration. She offered to bring her back another day, but our daughter refused. My wife always felt that she was bad at articulating her feelings. She feels she comes off aggressive. That's partly why she leaves our daughter's caretaking to me, but this fight has me questioning the nature of our relationship. I don't doubt she loves our daughter. I saw it firsthand during the pregnancy, and in our private conversations, she couldn't stop gushing about her. I felt her love in the little things. I don't know, something changed over time. My wife isn't close with her parents. She usually has me talk with them on her behalf. She has a mindset that parents and kids don't have to be close. She believes that since she turned out fine, so will our daughter. I'm failing to help with their relationship and our own. We barely have quality time. Intimacy is shot. When we're out together, we aren't really together because in public, she's hyper-aware and has her business persona on. I don't know what else to do. I'm at a loss. I'm not trying to bash my wife. I just want everyone to be okay. I'm in a fight for my family right now. How do I mend my wife and daughter's relationship while also repairing my marriage? In the comments, No Words Just Dogs says, kids can tell when their parents don't like them. This is on your wife. She can step up and get help or not. But either way, you might want to find someone to talk to your kid about how she feels about her mom. One of my very first memories was coming down the stairs and hearing my parents arguing. My mother was screaming, and I opened the door worried just as she shouted, "I never wanted her. I never loved her." They both looked at me, and my mom said real quickly, "Oh, but I love you now. Don't worry." I was OP's daughter's age when my mother came to me and said, "I'm going to leave your father. I need to be selfish and think about me for a change." So she took my brother, and she left us. She was going to tell me they were both off on holiday, and Dad would have had to tell me when they were both gone what was really happening, but he made her tell me. And we haven't had a relationship since. Dad died in 2015, and she tried, but I don't know you, lady. My parent is dead. Opie, this is your daughter's future if you don't get everyone therapy stat. First comment, your wife did not turn out okay. She is so far from okay that it isn't funny. Second, you cannot fix the relationship between your wife and child. Your wife has chosen to disengage from parent, and I'm sure your daughter feels like her mother doesn't even care or even like her. It may take years to repair the relationship, but it will have to be your wife that puts in the hard work and makes the family a priority. I agree with the other comments that you all need family and couples counseling. This is a very fractured, dysfunctional family. You cannot fix this alone. Your first point is what immediately stuck out to me. The wife claims that she and her parents aren't close, yet she is fine, so therefore the daughter will be too. However, her main complaint is that she's not close with her daughter, how she has a problem with that. So she's either being dense or just isn't being honest with herself when she claims that she genuinely sees no issue with her parents' relationship, but has issues with the same dynamic with her daughter. I personally think she's just not being honest with herself. Maybe also paired with a side of being dense. But really, that's what you get when you prioritize your work so much over your own family, and then you choose not to put in the hard yards to fix whatever is broken in your interpersonal relationship with your kids, and you keep doubling down on that and treating this 10-year-old as if they are someone with decades of life experience that should know the sacrifices that she's making at work and be able to be grateful that she's able to bring money in. It just seems like mum can never turn off the workplace upper management mindset that she's in. She is permanently that person because she has failed to be a parent. So the only thing she's successful at is who she is at work, so she's going to replace her parent persona with this upper management bully persona. And yeah, that double think of like, well, I see no problem with the dynamic I have with my parents, but the fact that she's disconnected with me, now that is a problem. And OP, you need to fix it. This is your fault, mate. I work hard to provide for my family. You should be doing the hard yards to build a relationship between my daughter and me. That's not my problem. I bust my ass for this family day and night. It's not my fault I didn't build a relationship with her. You should have been building that for me. She is delusional and disconnected from this reality. Something is seriously wrong with her brain. And if and when this family falls apart, it is entirely her fault. She refuses to take any accountability. She refuses to go out of her way to separate herself from work. She will be her own downfall. Good luck to her. I don't think you're an asshole at all, OP. I feel like you've done everything you can. And now, on to the update. Thank you to everyone who reached out. It helped a great deal. My original post was pretty much the first time that I talked about any of this, so I wanted to give an update. My wife and I had a serious discussion about everything. It took us a while to get there because things were still tense after our last fight and our many spats in between. Our daughter noticed the rift between her mum and me. She asked me about it, and I'm not proud of that. I never wanted her involved in our fights. It was a larger wake-up call. I shouldn't have let it drag out. My wife asked if we could talk, and we both apologized for the fight. She was worried that I was calling it quits after how bad our last fight was. She took us not recovering as quickly as usual and my distance as me being done. She wanted to make a gesture for our marriage. I told her that her harsh action towards our daughter had made me question our relationship. She said she felt bad for intensely ranting about our daughter. She was overwhelmed and used the situation as a punching bag. She loves our daughter, but is at a loss as a parent. I told her that we'd all keep being at a loss in our current state. We are disconnected as a couple and as a family. I feel like a single parent and alone in our marriage. Our current way isn't working. Her lack of presence is the common root cause. I didn't feel like my daughter or I actually mattered and were more put up with by her. That statement really bothered her. She denied it and promised our family does matter to her. She said she knows things aren't good right now, but she wants our family. That she gets frustrated and says stuff that she doesn't mean, but it doesn't equate to how she actually feels. Me personally, I don't believe that, but hey, you do you, OP's wife. I told her it's not just her words, it's her actions, her harshness, and how she chooses everything over our family every single time while expecting us to just have smiles on our faces. We're not props, and I can't enforce a relationship between her and our daughter. She said she has trouble with contentment, and it's an endless chase. She has this need to keep chasing after an inner feeling that she's always felt that she missed. We talked about the feeling before. It's a high and feeling whole. She said she thought our relationship was the answer. She thought our daughter was the answer. And then she thought her business would completely fill that void. She said she doesn't know how to be with our daughter. When our daughter was a baby, everything was easier. That our daughter would get excited when she came home from work, that no matter what she did or didn't do, she had our daughter's love. But she's older now and barely seems to like being in the same room as her and clings to me. I asked if she's considered that maybe our daughter is hurting from her criticism and broken promises. My wife feels that she's doing better than her parents. She said all our daughter knows is the grandma and grandpa who adore her over FaceTime. She doesn't know what they were like. Her childhood was staying in a child's place, doing what was expected of you, representing the family, and attitudes weren't tolerated. There wasn't a problem they couldn't solve with a belt. My wife said she doesn't believe in the belt as discipline, but she doesn't know how to be with our daughter and fears that she's aggressive when communicating, so she leaves our daughter to me. She doesn't feel that she's good as a mother to an older child or with expressing personal feelings. She said I knew what her parents were like. And she's right. My in-laws ran an unforgiving household. My wife was pretty much a latchkey kid. My father-in-law was always working, and my mother-in-law was busy with her community engagements. Feelings were compared to complaining, and there were certain expectations of my wife. I was 17 and my wife was 19 when we had our daughter. Of course, the circumstances weren't ideal, but my in-laws made you feel their disapproval. There wasn't support to be found from them. They told my wife that if she was grown enough to make a baby, then she was grown enough to take on the responsibilities on her own. My in-laws have mellowed out a lot now, but my wife is no contact with them. She used her business to pay off their house, and that was that. I'm the buffer between them. I'm accustomed to being my wife's protector. That was always our dynamic, especially during the pregnancy when everyone had commentary, were comedians, or when guys would talk about her. Looking back, I think that's part of why I made excuses for her actions with our daughter. I told my wife that I'm in love with her, but our daughter can't be at the expense of our relationship. We're at a crossroads. Something needs to change. Counseling isn't an option anymore. It's happening for our daughter and for me. I want for us to come through this as a family. If she refuses counseling, I'd respect her decision, but her answer would give me my answer on what I needed to do for the best of our daughter. We'd have to separate for the time being. My wife said if it's between counseling and losing our family, then she chooses counseling. She wants to keep working on our marriage and reconnecting as a family. We are not props. I asked if this is really what she wanted. If we do this, it can't be her showing up in word only, but looking for any reason to skip out. She said what we built means something to her, and losing that has become more real to her now. I talked with our daughter about her feelings on counseling too. I didn't just want to randomly throw an appointment on her. She was pretty open to the idea. I think it's because she's close with my parents and she knows they do counseling. My wife and I are officially in counseling. We're trying a conjoint therapy approach for right now. It's a new experience for us. Prior to this, my wife was never big on counseling, but she has been showing up. She hasn't flaked. There's been some improvement with my wife and daughter. My wife has pulled back on criticism and asking our daughter questions. Recently, we went to an amusement park as a family, and they had a good time together on some rides. My wife asked to pair with our daughter on a few games too. It was the first time in a long time that I saw them share a laugh. Nothing's perfect. We're in the early stages. I know my wife and daughter's relationship will be a long road. I know how it pans out isn't up to me, but I'm here to support our daughter in whatever she needs. I don't know what the future holds, but I want to be hopeful for my family. Maybe it's not too late. I want the best for everyone involved. Our daughter will be starting middle school soon, and I told my wife that she'll need the both of us. I'm hoping this road isn't the end of my family. I want us to have to come through this together. When I chose a life with her, it wasn't because we were having a baby, so let's stick together. It was because I love her and I want to be with her. I want to make this work. Thank you to everyone again. I appreciate the support. It's much appreciated. In the comments, Huntress says, "This is a good start. I'll add that your wife needs individual counseling. She will never be able to fill that void in her with other things or people. She has to fill it within herself. Good luck to you, and keep looking out for your daughter." Yeah, the void talk is toxic. She will always look to fill it and change her life, but nothing external ever really will. I've seen it happen to too many people who either can't or won't really do enough introspection and could really use the help of therapy. I mean, we all could, but people with that problem are primed for a self-destructive cycle. And as a parent and partner, self-destruction means burning the people closest to you too. I really hope everything works out for the family. It seems everyone is trying, and I'm hoping the initial progress that OP has reported will make it easier for all of them to keep going and making more progress. I think the wife got a wake-up call and realizes how close they came to not making it as a couple. I appreciate the additional context about your wife, how she grew up, and importantly, the age that you became parents. I admit I was ready to throw her in the rubbish before that point, but your wife has never been shown what to do, how to parent, how to properly trust that someone else is going to be there, so she relies solely on herself. I really hope you can all find your way through this, OP. You're a great dad for protecting and defending your daughter. Absolutely agree with that. I think OP is an outstanding father figure, and I think he is doing everything within his power to manage this situation to the best of his ability. There really is only so much that you can do, and it is great that she has been receptive to therapy and that she has been receptive to his criticisms or his realness about how checked out she has been, how flaky she has been this entire marriage, this entire motherhood of hers. and that she needs to wake up to the fact that she is repeating a cycle of neglect that started with her parents. I think it's fantastic that she is giving this a go, that she is recognizing her faults, that she is recognizing how badly she has failed her family these last 10 years. I, for one, really hope that things continue to improve. This is kind of a rare glimmer of hope in amongst the amount of divorce and separation and amicable or non-amicable co-parenting that we see in stories on Reddit. This is a story that gives me hope, so thank you, OP, for bringing it to us. Good luck going forward, and I hope it all goes well. Am I the arsehole here for telling my mum that I didn't want to know her after she walked out 14 years ago? The title pretty much tells the outline of the story. I'm a 16-year-old female, and I'm living with my dad, who has 100% custody of me. He's had custody since I was 2. My parents had me when they were quite young. My dad was 18, and my quote-unquote mum was 20. And quote-unquote mum couldn't cope with how my existence inconvenienced her education and social life. She wanted to enjoy university, and my existence got in the way of all of that. Therefore, she upped sticks and left my dad to raise me by myself. And my dad is the complete opposite, and is more worth in one of his pinky fingers than her entire existence. He's been both the mother and the father in my life. He has showered me with the love and affection that I needed. He's been strict with me when needed and has guided me to be the person that I am today. And he's never missed a day or an opportunity of letting me know how much he loves me. He is my hero, and I doubt that I will ever love anyone as much as I do my dad. I am unashamed to admit that I'm a daddy's girl. Our life has been very stable, and he's done an amazing job of raising me throughout my childhood and into my teenage years. But now the egg donor, I won't apologize for calling her that, because just the thought of calling her mum turns my stomach, is trying to rock the boat. She's contacted me, asking if we could meet up because she wants to reconnect with me. She gave a sob story about how she spent years regretting her decision of not being in my life, and how she's now at a point in her life, mentally and financially, where she wants to give me what I am owed from her. She also has 2 children, 7 and 5, and she's hopeful that I can develop a relationship with my siblings. This is where I feel like I might be an asshole, because in an outburst of sudden anger at suddenly being contacted, I told her to F off, and that nothing she says could convince me to have anything to do with someone who I only consider to be an egg donor and an incubator in my life. I thought that I gave up on my anger and resentment towards her a long time ago, but it felt like the dam broke, as I let out all of that anger and resentment that built up all those years ago, as I unleashed all of my pent-up feelings towards her. Because the anger that I felt wasn't only for myself and how she abandoned me, I also felt anger for the hurt, pain, and struggles that she caused for my dad. And here she is, trying to reopen those old wounds that both myself and my dad have suffered at her selfish hands. I told her all of that, and how I consider myself to be the child of one parent, as the other one has been dead for most of my life. I'm not ashamed to admit that I took some joy in telling her how much of an amazing father and man that my dad is, and that both myself and my dad had a lucky escape getting away from someone who is as narcissistic and toxic as she is. And the only point where I remained somewhat civil was when telling her how I don't want anything to do with her children, because despite my anger and resentment towards her, those children are blameless and innocent. And if she tries to use them as an emotional weapon against me, or selfishly drags them into all of this, then that would only make me angrier than I already am. I blocked her from all of my socials. Though I know that this won't be over anytime soon, and my dad is preparing to lawyer up if she does try and drag this to the courts. But for now, I'm going to try and refocus on my GCSE exams, and I'm looking forward to the upcoming trip away with my dad to celebrate the end of my exams. In the comments, Civil Clue says, "Not the arsehole. Your egg donor wants a free babysitter." That was my first thought, but the threat of a lump sum payment of all the back child support she owes should scare her off. OP replies, "It might sound silly, but I wouldn't want the back payment on the child support that she owes. I know that it'll probably sound like mental gymnastics, but I feel that accepting her money would give her a reason to believe that she would now have a say in my life. Not the asshole. She waited 14 years to contact you, while she's had other kids for what, 7 years? Nah, she could have reached out at any point. The fact that she waited until you're old enough to babysit is suspicious as hell. You owe her nothing. OP replies, she tried reaching out last year by contacting my dad. He spoke to me at the time about it, asked what I wanted to do, and he respected my decision of not wanting anything to do with her. He gave my response to her, but she's now bypassed him and contacted me directly. Not the asshole. She waited 14 years to talk to you, never sent you a card on your birthday or anything. It was her choice to leave. She can deal with the consequences. She's looking for a second mother and babysitter for her kids 100%. All of those points aside, are you the asshole here for telling your mom you didn't want to know her after she walked out? Absolutely not. And in everything that you said to her, you were not the asshole for that, because everything you said is correct, everything is valid. She didn't even take any slow steps to form this relationship with you. There was never any apologies from her. There was never any acknowledgement of anything she did wrong. If she was truly genuine about her approach in wanting to reconnect with you, there would be very small steps. There would be so much more than how she reached out to you directly, especially after knowing how your dad worded the rejection. Any normal person would approach that earnestly and honestly in a much different way than she did. Because of that, it tells me that she doesn't care. She doesn't want to care about the effect that she had on OP's life and on OP's father's life, and that, yeah, she probably just wants free babysitting. There's no way in hell you should reconnect with someone like that. And if you don't want the child support money, that's fair enough. Although, in this economy, it might be useful. But that's just my 2 cents. And now, onto the update. OP starts with some backstory and then kind of gets into the update here. Eventually, though, she respected the fact that I needed to concentrate on my GCSEs, and she asked if we could meet up after I was done. I then spent a while trying to figure out what I should do. I spoke to my dad about it, and he gave me his full support on whatever my decision would be. In the end, I did agree to meet up with my mum in a public space, and we met up yesterday at a coffee shop. My dad dropped me off, and I asked him to stay close by to pick me up when I was done. So he went and did a bit of shopping for our upcoming trip away together. I understand this is getting to be a quite long read now, so I'll try and keep it as simple as possible. But basically, my mum started giving me an emotional story of how she spent the last 10 plus years regretting not being in my life. She told me that she was young when she walked out and was really unsure of what she wanted in life. I responded that I could understand that she was young and becoming a mum at her age must have been incredibly difficult, but I pointed out that my dad was also young. Younger than her, in fact, but he stepped up and became a single parent to the detriment of his own future dreams and relationships. So whilst I could sympathize with her, I still couldn't accept it as being a good enough reason. I could see that those words really stung her, and whilst I knew that she was being genuine, I still couldn't forgive her for that, and I did tell her that. She then informed me that her children, my half-siblings, would really like to meet their older sister, and she showed me their photos and was telling me stories about their life. This honestly felt like a stab to the heart, because a mum talking about her children, sharing photos of them, etc., is what I spent my life wanting. In the end, I had to ask her to stop talking about her children because hearing these stories was bringing up the pain of the mum that I always wanted but never had. I also told her that no matter how much she tries, I wouldn't ever see her children as being my siblings. We didn't grow up together and we don't know each other. They are nothing but strangers to me and are no different to the children that I see walking past me in the street. My emotions did slightly get the better of me here, and my mum did see my agitation growing. I won't bore you with everything that was said, but by the time that we were done with our conversation and were getting ready to leave, my mum got the wrong assumption thinking that this wouldn't be the last time that we'd meet up, because she thanked me for giving this opportunity to spend time with her eldest daughter and how she hopes that we can continue to heal our relationship. I had to stop her there, and this is now where I'm second-guessing myself on whether I was too harsh. Because I told her that under false illusion does this mean that we will one day have a mother-daughter relationship. I only gave her this time with me so that we could both say what we needed to be said for the closure that will allow us to move on from each other. I don't right now, and I never will consider her as my mum. Yes, she is the woman who gave birth to me, and I will always be thankful to her for how she carried me for 9 months and gave birth to me. However, that doesn't mean that I will ever see her as my mum. She began to get rather emotional at this point, but I just had to ignore her so that I could finish what I wanted to say when I told her that I consider myself as only having one parent, my dad. And before we went our ways, whilst she was still trying to get her emotions under check, whilst begging me to reconsider giving her a second chance, I felt that I had to be brutally honest when I requested that she doesn't contact me or my dad again, and that if I ever wanted to speak to her again, that I would be the one to reach out to her. I'm not heartless. The pain was honestly eating away at me as I watched my mum getting more and more emotional, and I was struggling to keep my own emotions under control. Because I wanted to cry, but I couldn't. I knew that I had to make my message crystal clear to her that I don't want anything to do with her. Not now, or any time in the future. It was only when I met up with my dad and got into the car that I finally broke down and cried hysterically. My dad has given me his full support. He's reassured me that he'll always respect my decision. Whether I want my mum in my life, whether I want to go low contact or completely remove her from my life, he will always support me, and I really appreciate his support. His support has given me reassurances that I've done the right thing. However, whilst speaking to my best friends, they've been conflicted on the matter. They feel that I've been too harsh on my mum, and that I should have been more responsive towards repairing a relationship with her. They believe that I should try and give her a second chance, otherwise one day I might regret it. I asked them to change the subject because I didn't want to talk about her anymore. But it did leave me wondering whether I was too harsh on my mum when she was trying to give me a genuine apology for all of her wrongdoings, because she has accepted full responsibility for what she did, and that there is nothing that could excuse what she did 14 years ago. That makes me feel like my friends were right, and I was an asshole to my mum when we met up, but I'm just confused right now. My dad has offered me the chance of seeing a therapist for everything that I've been through, but I'm reluctant. I am foolishly hoping that once I've been on this holiday with my dad, and when we return home, these events with my mum will be in the distant past. Oh, and to finish off, in my last post, I had a number of comments telling me that my dad should chase my mum for child support. I did discuss this with my dad, but it's not something that he wants to do. He says that we're fine financially, and he doesn't want to deal with the stress of going through the legal system, which can be slow, and end up in a prolonged legal battle with her. He also got concerns that this would maybe give my mum more incentive to try and forcibly be more involved in my life, because she's now invested money into me, and that would give her a legal right to having some form of access to me. In the comments, Glumcraft says, "Not the arsehole." She said she regretted the last 10 plus not being in your life, but didn't even contact you, even once up until now. She made her bed when she abandoned you, now let her sleep on it. Actions have consequences. OP replies, "She's made a few attempts the last few years, but I always made it clear each time that I didn't want to have contact with her. I only agreed to meet up with her yesterday with the intention of telling her that I don't want her in my life, regardless of what she had to say. But seeing her getting as emotional as she got did hit me in a way that I didn't expect." Sleeper Awakened says, "Not the arsehole, but take your dad up on that offer. It seems that this will keep festering at your core. Talking about it may help. I was abandoned by my mother at age 5, raised by my dad, but it wasn't so great with just my dad and a future stepfamily. I highly recommend therapy. It seems like you're coping great, but there are always scars left. I wish I had gone to therapy when I was younger, but it wasn't as much a thing back then. Always remember that you were never, ever the factor in her leaving. Some people just don't want to be parents, even though they spawned a kid." Absolutely. It's not OP's fault, and perhaps therapy can help them, process this. I'm on OP's side. I don't understand why the friends think that this is a relationship that should be given a second chance. To me, it sounds like those parents have never dealt with neglect as strong as what OP is going through, and they don't have the same perspective of the pain that OP is going through. Because if they had experienced that before, if they had felt what OP is feeling, I highly doubt they would be pushing for OP to reconcile. I'm not going to say that what they're doing is malicious, I just say that it's incredibly ignorant, but that ignorance, if continued to be pushed, will turn into maliciousness and will hurt OP. I think those friends need to go touch some grass and learn about the real world and how these things affect real people in the real world and not just live in their own little bubble. Again, I back OP 100%. I don't think OP should feel like an asshole for enforcing these very much reasonable boundaries. I respect OP for that. I hope they go on a journey of healing and acceptance of where they're at in their life right now, and they're able to not have this eat away at their core. Thank you for sharing the story with us, OP. Good luck and all the best. Now, this next story has a content warning of violence and death. I know I've made mistakes with content warnings in the past, so I will make it abundantly clear. This story deals with the death of a child. Skip ahead to the next story if you don't want to listen to that. Posted by user account throwaway2929, titled, I'm eloping on Friday because my family wants us to delay the wedding until my brother gets released from prison. We don't want to wait, so we are just going to the courthouse by ourselves. Ever since I got engaged a month ago, my parents, my brother, and some of my other family have been pressuring us to wait to get married until my other brother is released from prison. My, male 29, fiancé, female 29, and I plan to have the wedding in November. My brother will be in prison for at least another 5 years. There is no guarantee that he will be released then. That's just the earliest he could be released. My brother went to prison over my nephew's death. My brother and his wife were convicted of manslaughter because the law required everyone on the boat to wear a life jacket, and my nephew wasn't wearing one. His death destroyed my entire family. I don't want to wait another 5 years, and neither does my fiancé. We've been together for 3 years, and we are ready now. I know my brother going to prison was hard on everyone, including me. I've missed him being around for so many years. I thought if I talked to my brother, he would be more understanding and tell everyone to stop pressuring us, but instead, he got mad at me for wanting to get married while he was in prison. After that, my fiancé and I decided that we're just going to go to the courthouse on Friday by ourselves. No one in her family will care if we elope, and honestly, we are done with the pressure. We aren't going to tell anyone until afterwards. Neither of us care about having a big wedding, and I am so tired of everyone telling us to wait until my brother gets out. I don't care if anyone is angry with us. I honestly don't. In the comments, ChipChop666 says, Your family is really entitled. The world isn't waiting for your brother to get out of a prison. Your entire family is insane for thinking you had to wait. Obviously, brother didn't ask for permission to do his crimes, so him getting upset that you're living your life is ridiculous. Why aren't you delaying your wedding? Well, because my brother committed manslaughter against his kid. What a truly cheerful tone to set for the wedding planning. I thought you were going to say that he'll be out in a number of months, not years. Your family is so selfish. My husband and I got married early 2021 in our living room with the Justice of the Peace over Zoom. Just 3 of us, and it was very special. Yeah, if they were planning for November and he was getting out in December, that would be shitty. But 5 effing years? Just to get married? Their carelessness with their son put their life on pause, and I'm terribly sorry for the loss your family suffered both in losing him and essentially your brother as well. But your life is not anybody's to live except your own. If you and your beloved want to marry, you guys go and you get married. If a ceremony is what they want and it matters that much to them, maybe they'll be happy to celebrate together once your brother is out. But you guys are not obligated to wait for anybody if you are both in it and ready for it. Congratulations and best wishes. Yeah, no, I don't think you should put your life on pause for 5 years. Because your family wants him to be out of prison first. It's your wedding, it's your wedding day. No one can tell you what to do with it. No one gets to command that day. You are completely in charge of it. It's not your fault that that happened, and it's not fair for them to demand that you put your life on pause as well, just because everyone else's lives are on pause. I don't blame you for eloping. I think if you just get it over and done with, you don't have the nuisance of guilt trips, drama, and gossip that would happen at a big wedding day. I think you save yourself a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of emotional just bullshit that you would have to deal with otherwise. If you are both happy with eloping, absolutely go ahead. That is the smart and correct thing to do. And now, onto the update. I just want to say how much I appreciate the supportive comments in my first post. My wife and I did go to the courthouse on Friday, just the two of us. We didn't tell a single person beforehand. We spent Friday and yesterday at home together. Today, before my wife and I both went to work, we called her parents and her sisters to tell them, and then we called my parents. After that, we emailed or messaged some other family and friends. Everyone in her family understood why we eloped. My family not so much, but I don't care after the way they acted. My brother and his wife have been in prison for several years already, and the earliest they could be released is the year 2030. They are in prison for manslaughter because of my nephew's death. The law requires everyone on the boat to wear a life jacket. No one on board, including my toddler nephew, was wearing one. My brother and my sister-in-law were both convicted of manslaughter after my nephew died. My wife and I didn't want to wait 5 years to get married, and also prison rules wouldn't allow for my brother to watch a live stream or see a video later on. We didn't want to have a vow renewal or reception after my brother gets out. We don't see a need to have another ceremony or to delay our reception. We have been clear to everyone that we know that we don't want another ceremony or to have a reception or party now or later. We don't think there's anything wrong with the focus being on the couple on their wedding day and not one of the guests. I absolutely hate what my brother did, and I was angry at him for a long time. My nephew is a toddler, and I think about him all the time and what he would be like now. I also miss my brother being around, and this tragedy and my brother going to jail has been difficult for everyone in the family, including me. It doesn't mean I can't be angry at my brother for how he acted about my wedding, but outside of that, I still do miss my brother. I don't regret eloping though. Friday was the best day, and I love my wife. We have no regrets about our courthouse wedding. In the comments, Avid Learnerbot says, "I'm truly sorry about your family's situation, and I admire your decision to prioritize your happiness. It's understandable that you didn't want to wait, and it's great that you found a way to make it work for both of you." Exactly. Sometimes you just have to put yourself first. Really happy you made it all work out in the end. Wishing you the best married life. OP says, "Thank you. I thought I would feel guilty about eloping and not telling my family about it, but I don't. My wife and I are happy and have no guilt about any of it. Congrats on your nuptials. Like I said in your first post, your life doesn't revolve around the dumb fuckery of your brother and family, especially when it's clear that he may not even get out in 5 years anyway, due to being an unrepentant fuck-up, and the rest of that side of the family is no better either as his enablers. Do have brunch, lunch, or dinner at a restaurant with your wife's family, or at least her parents, to celebrate your marriage." OP replies, "Thank you. Like I said in my first post, we've been clear with everyone that we don't want any kind of reception or gathering. My wife's family, unlike mine, is respecting our wishes on that and have only been supportive. And good on you guys. Again, I think you did the right thing. I'm glad that you went through with it all, and I'm glad that her family has been supportive of you. At this point, it doesn't matter what your family thinks. Who cares what opinion they have on this matter? If they are enabling that behavior, they are just as bad. If they can't be supportive of you, if they can't be happy for you, if they can't understand why you do the things that you do, then that's a them problem. And that is not something that you should question in yourself and be like, maybe they have a point. Because I personally don't think they have any point. I think if they guilt trip you for this and try to make you feel bad about having a wedding on your terms, you should just ignore them. Thank you for the update, thank you for the story, and good luck, OP. Our next post is by user throwra bunch of numbers, and it's titled, My 32 female, husband 36 male, became a robot and I don't know how to help him. The title sounds insane, but here I go. We've been married for 6 years and have 2 kids, and I'm pregnant with a third. My husband works 9 to 5, comes home, does his chores, plays with our 2 kids, talks to me for a little bit, and then goes to sleep. But he doesn't seem to enjoy doing any of it. Like this whole thing is one big chore. He used to be this goofy guy who smiled and told jokes all the time, but I haven't seen the man smile in months. It's not like he's neglecting his duties as a husband and father, but he acts like it's just that. Duties. Like hanging with the kids and me is a second job. I'm grateful for all he's doing, and he makes all of our lives so much easier, but it's like he's constantly on the clock, and I think he might be depressed. I tried asking him if he was okay, and he tells me he's doing fantastic, but I know he's not. That's the line that he uses at work when customers try to make small talk and ask how he's doing. He doesn't take any time for himself. He doesn't take any breaks. He stopped playing games and stopped watching TV. He just does what I feel he thinks needs to be done, and I don't know how to help him out. Our sex life has become one-sided. We do it frequently, but only because I initiate frequently. Even if he doesn't seem in the mood, he'll do it, like it's his responsibility to make me happy. It feels like he isn't there in the moment, like his mind is wandering the whole time that we're intimate, and that, to me, feels worse than getting rejected. I don't know what's going on, and I don't know how to help because he won't let me in. To anybody else, he seems fine, but I know something is wrong, and I don't know how to fix this. I miss my husband, the guy who complained and told jokes, not this robotic shell that looks like him. In the comments, your husband sounds burnt out. He sounds completely exhausted, with nothing but more exhaustion to look forward to. He's probably tired of the redundancy and depressed. He probably needs a long vacation from responsibilities and a new career. Edit. I forgot to mention that your husband is probably telling you that everything is fine because he doesn't want you to feel guilty or leave you with the responsibilities of everything on your own. Yeah, he's burnt out for sure. Life is so damn tough on all of us, we really all need to be so gentle with each other. Man in Mirror says, sounds very familiar. I am 50 male, and I've been where he is. I was not interested in hearing that I might have depression either. It didn't sound right. I didn't think that was what depression feels like. Doing some research at the time, I found some stuff that made me get more open to getting help. The first is that it's not giving in, it's not about being weak. It's just a problem that he needs help fixing. Fixing it is not a bad thing. Leaving it broken is a bad thing. My second thought for you is that often men have a hard time talking about feelings because we don't know what they are, how to describe them, how to recognize them. Ask him if he's depressed. He says no because he doesn't know if that feeling is depression, boredom, work stress, a memory of a song he hates. He has no idea. It's a cliche, but here's the new part. We can recognize symptoms. Ask him about any strange symptoms he has. Can't sleep? Forget stuff? Decides not to do things that seem like stuff he would enjoy? Naps? Or naps where he can't fall asleep? Late or early bedtime? Missed work? Lack of interest in sex? Boner trouble? Tummy issues? Get him talking about his symptoms, and you might recognize that some of them are emotions or feelings. Gently point that out when it happens, and look for symptoms of depression, not feelings. The third thing I learned, it's common for men to resist a diagnosis of depression. All that stuff we grow up with gets in the way. What I had was adaptation disorder with depressed mood. That's when you can't adapt to something, it stresses you out, and you get symptoms like depression. You can treat it with meds, even if you can't identify or fix the problem. For me, it took some pretty massive life change. Still on meds though, because the stress just doesn't end in 2020. Back up to the post, there's an edit. Alright, wow, I didn't expect this to blow up. I want to thank you all for your advice. I really appreciate it. It's clear to me now that my husband is overworked and burnt out. He comes home from work in a couple of hours, and I'm going to sit down and talk to him. I'm going to tell him how I feel, and I hope that together we can find a solution that turns him back into the man that he once was. I'm sorry if I wasn't able to respond to everyone, but I want you all to know that I read every comment and response. I'll post an update soon about how it goes. Bye. So yeah, obviously with that comment, this was posted in 2020 during the midst of coronavirus. If he was already depressed before, you can imagine that he was doubly depressed with everything going on, everything still being fresh and new and uncertain. I can see why he'd just go numb, get into a routine, and just not be able to associate anymore. It sounds very much like he's just disassociating from reality, but doing his best to keep a routine going. That's obviously not healthy. That's not a good way to live your life. You're going to hit a wall eventually, and it's not going to be good when you do hit that wall. Best to get some help. Best to want to get some help before you do anything drastic. You know, we don't know where this ends. We know the way this could end. We don't want it to end there. So wanting to get help would be amazing to avoid that. And now, onto the update. Hey everybody, here's the update. I wrote this a couple of days ago, but I couldn't post it because it was too soon. My husband came home at around 6 o'clock, and after he had something to eat, I took him to the bedroom to talk. I sat him down on the bed, and I told him I was worried about him. I didn't know exactly how to phrase my worries, so I just showed him my original post. When he finished reading the post, he started crying. Like, full-on crying. In all the years that I've known this man, I had never seen a tear roll down his eyes. I held him for a few minutes until he could recompose himself, and he told me everything. He told me that the world was in a shitty place right now, and that we're bringing a child into a stressful time. He said when I became pregnant, he felt he had to step up. He needed to take care of things because it was his responsibility. He said that the weight of carrying the family was so much harder than he anticipated, so he thought if he doubled down, he could get through it. But the more he tried, the darker the tunnel got, and eventually he couldn't see an end. He said that he feels like he's constantly drowning, and the only breath of fresh air is on the car ride between home and work. He said that sometimes the stress is so much that he throws up, but doesn't tell anyone, and instead keeps on going with his day. He then pulled out a packet of gum from his pocket and said, "This was for when it happens." I asked him why he couldn't tell me any of this, and he said he didn't want to burden me with the truth. He said that he thought that if he told me everything, that I would stop seeing him as a protector and provider, and that I would inevitably stop loving him. Hearing him say that brought tears to my eyes, because I didn't know where he got the notion that I would feel that way. I asked him if he wanted to quit his job, but surprisingly, he said the job doesn't bother him. He said the work in and of itself was fine. It's just now he feels an added weight to provide because not only was he fortunate enough to keep his job in the pandemic, but we also had a kid on the way. He said that some days he feels like packing a suitcase and running to some tropical island for a week and not telling anyone, but then he feels guilty and doubles down even more. I told him that maybe he should go on a trip. I said that he deserved a break, and maybe if he did exactly that, he'd feel better. He tried to protest, but I insisted. In the end, he said that he'll only go if we go together, like a romantic getaway between spouses. Once things start to clear up, and before the baby is due, he wants to take a week off from work, drop the kids off at grandma's house, and have us go on a vacation, just the two of us, like we used to when we first got married. He also said that he wants to take the day off tomorrow and just sleep in. So that's the plan. I'll call his boss tomorrow and say that he's sick and can't come in. It's not like they'll make a sick man come into work. There's a pandemic going on. Right now, he's playing with the kids and doesn't feel like he's doing one of his chores. He actually seems to be enjoying himself. For the first time in months, I don't see the robot. I see my husband. Edit. Hey everyone, I want to thank you all for the support. I read all of your comments, and I appreciate all of you. I didn't expect this to get so much traction, so I want to clarify some things. First things first, my husband says hi. 1. I wanted to clarify about the chores people are talking about. I want to say that I know as a stay-at-home mother, the bulk of the chores goes to me. I cook and clean and do laundry because I know it's my responsibility. My husband's only chores are doing dishes, vacuuming every 3 days, and a few other house maintenance things. 2. I did in fact call in sick for my husband, but I made sure that I said that he had a migraine. I saw on Google that it wasn't a symptom of COVID if it was an isolated symptom. His boss was okay with it and said that he can come back whenever he feels better. 3. The pregnancy wasn't an accident. We both did want to have 3 kids because we were both raised in 3-kid families. We actively tried for the first 2, but for baby number 3, it was kind of a if it happens, it happens kind of thing. We're both happy with the amount of kids we have/will have, and are hopefully done. We are not considering abortion nor adoption. 4. We realize that a 1-week vacation isn't enough to get rid of his stress, and are both trying to come up with a solution that alleviates his stress in a more sustainable way. Right now, we're thinking about setting up an hour or 2 a day that's daddy's time. No kids, no me, no work, just for him to relax. And 5, for those of you who think that this is fake, there isn't any way I can change your minds about this situation, so I'm not really too bothered. I just hope this never happens to you guys. You have all been supportive and really a wonderful bunch of people. I really think we can get through this, and it wouldn't have been possible without you guys. I'm not going to reply to comments because, like last time, it's an overwhelming amount, but just know I'm reading these as they come in. Good night, everyone. It's been great. In the comments, Tururiel says, I'm always grateful for these COVID posts. If I'm being honest, it provides a window into the minds and lives of other people and how they struggled with a once-in-a-lifetime, ideally, global pandemic. The Spanish flu was the last such majorly recorded event, almost a century prior to COVID. However, without access to the internet and the trappings of social media, the accounts feel more sanitized and less raw. Spanish flu was similar. There were cities where masks were recommended and widely accepted with fewer losses, and there were cities where they protested against masks and had to pay the price. No one knows how many people had some kind of long flu just like COVID. It's still unclear and not accepted everywhere. Many doctors talk about depression instead of long COVID and treat it wrong. Firm Solution says, 5 years ago. It's one of those posts that I hope gets an update, just so we can be sure everything turned out all right. I was thinking the same. I'm burnt out right now, and I'm pretty sure OP's husband needs more support than a couple of hours each day and a vacation. I hope he got therapy. Exhausting yourself like that comes with a huge cost and takes a long time to recover from. I hope they're doing better now. Me too. I really hope that they're doing better now. Obviously, it's been 5 years, and if there was a follow-up update, I would be reading it. But as it stands, I'd say that this issue is fairly concluded. All we can do is hope that they implemented everything that they said they were going to do, and that they continued to face those demons together. They continued to improve as a couple, they continued to work on him and his mental health, and that they are thriving now, and did not break up as a result of that. I really do wish nothing but the best for the both of them. All we can do is speculate. That was an incredibly difficult time for them to get through, and I'm surprised myself that he immediately opened up to her like he did. My assumption is that most people just avoid and negate and, move goalposts so that they don't have to tackle what is eating away at them in the moment, and that it takes a while for them to come out of their shell. That, for me, seems rare, that he immediately just opened up and told her what was wrong. And I very much appreciate that he did that. There wasn't any huge arguments, there weren't any fights where no one had the correct tools or information to deal with the problem that was facing both of them. And it really does seem like those two were able to get through it, and I hope they're still able to get through it. Thank you for the story, OP. Again, hoping you guys are doing fantastic now. Am I overreacting thinking about breaking up with my fiancé due to how he treats my special needs sister? I would like to know if I'm being overdramatic or overreacting. I'm 29 years old, and my fiancé is also 29. We've known each other since 2015 because he attends the same religious church as me. We started dating in 2022, and he proposed to me in February of this year. We have plans to get married in October. He is an only child, and I have one little sister who has some special needs, with me being an only sibling to my little sister who is 19. If something were to happen to my parents, and when they can no longer care for her, she will be living with me. She's not severely disabled. She has Down syndrome and a low IQ. She's very independent though. She can walk, talk, eat, shop, and do a lot of life skills on her own with minimal assistance. She's just very vulnerable and isn't aware of safety. My fiancé is fully aware of the circumstances regarding our future and has accepted her living with us. It becomes a topic a lot since we're also considering having our own kids. So, not all of the time, but sometimes when my fiancé and I go out, I include my sister. I do respite for my sister, and I get paid to do respite for her. Again, my fiancé has always been acceptable with me including her when we hang out. We went out yesterday, and I included my sister. My whole night felt ruined because of him. We went out to eat, and my sister was trying to order, and he kept rushing her when she was stuttering a bit. I didn't make a scene, and I kept silent due to not wanting to make a scene. We went to the mall next to go shop at my sister and I's favorite store. My fiancé stayed out of the store, which was fine because this store is aimed towards women. When we got done with shopping, and my little sister was showing him what she got, he didn't say anything and didn't even show any interest. I confronted him, and he made a rude remark saying, "God forbid me not caring about your sister's fragrances." Our last stop was Target. I had to get some things, and I had my sister help with scanning things. He seemed annoyed and told me that she needs to speed things up because this is awkward. Mind you, there wasn't even a line, and multiple self-checkouts were open. When he dropped me off at home yesterday, I didn't even say anything. As much as I want us to grow together, I can't be with someone who belittles my sister. Do I have the right to be upset? In the comments, Budget Discussion says, "I'm confused about what was awkward at Target. Her in general? Her speed while checking items or a lack thereof? Either way, I'd be offended and feel protective of her because I can't see his perspective about either being valid. I'm so sorry he was mean to you and toward her. The term red flag exists for this reason. Continue the engagement, but be very aware of what and how he says things. If you continue to see red flags, make the hard choice sooner rather than later." OP replies, "I was having her scan items because it's a goal that she works on since she gets state services for her intellectual disability. We had a full cart, and it was taking a little longer than usual to finish because she would accidentally scan something twice, so the staff was kinda hanging close around us in case we needed assistance. I think he low-key feels embarrassed just by her presence, and he feels like we're being stared at." Brightbag293 says, "You obviously don't have to if you don't want, but I'm very curious to know what this loser of a man looks like. A lot of losers who talk crap are insecure and below average looking." OP replies, "It'll be breaking the rules if I post him, but I don't mind sending you a picture of him through PM on here." Helicopter No says, "Not overreacting. One thing to keep in mind, aside from how he treats your sister, is that in marriage there will be times when you will need him to be your caregiver. It could be after the birth of a child that took an unexpected turn, surgery where you can't even bathe without assistance. If he treats your sister the way he does, ask yourself if he would treat you the same way when he's supposed to care for you. I would have an honest conversation with him about your expectations in this marriage and if this is something he is capable of." OP replies, "His mother actually asked my parents about our gene pool when we were out with his parents one time, but said afterwards that she would love her grandchild regardless. So I just let that one go." I don't know about you guys, but that's just yet another red flag to deal with here. These two have been together since 2015. That's 10 years. He's known about this for 10 years, and now he's acting up? Like, come on, this is not acceptable behavior. And this should be not even a red flag. This should be brighter than a red flag for OP, that he's known about her for 10 years, and now, of all times, he's acting out. Something is wrong, something is not going well, and I don't think that if she forgives this and kind of ignores it, that things are going to get any better. I think she needs to confront him on this. I think she needs to know exactly what is going on and why he's acting this way, because it doesn't sound like he nor his family are very accepting of this little sister at all. To me, it sounds like they all want her gone. They all hate her presence. They all are scared that OP is going to have another child with special needs, and that is something to be ashamed of. All signs point to that, and I hope that OP has that conversation with him. And now, onto the update. So I posted on here a few days ago regarding my fiancé and my special needs little sister. Some people wanted an update. After posting about it, reading most of the comments, and doing deep thinking, I've decided to cut ties with him last Sunday. It was one of the hardest things I've had to do, because we've had our future planned out, and he was my first relationship. Family will always come first for me, and I'm not going to be with someone who is an ableist, especially when him and I can end up with a disabled child someday, because muscular dystrophy does run in my family. As far as my future, I'm a pediatric RN, so I'm going to keep focusing on my career. I have a savings account set up, so I'm planning on applying for an apartment very soon. I'm also going on a Bahamian or Bahamian cruise, I don't know how you guys say it, in October that was supposed to be our honeymoon, but I'll be going with my best friend instead. So I'm ecstatic for that. I'm going to keep living my life as best as I can and not dwell over a relationship that wasn't meant to be. For the few people who made comments such as that I'm just going to end up single because no one wants the package that I come with, just know that I see the ableism in you, and you might want to humble yourselves, because anyone can become disabled respectfully. In the comments, Stardust Stuffing says, "Good for you. My daughter is autistic and requires a lot of patience and understanding. I'd lose my mind if someone I knew treated her badly because of her extra needs. So how did he take it? I'm really curious to know." OP says, "It went pretty sour, but I expected it because he has a pretty short temper, which is crazy to admit because we are both a part of the Latter-day Saints Church." A little context, so before officially breaking up, on Saturday, we went out because I really wanted to get down to the root of the problem on why he was so disgusted by my sister. He started gaslighting me and making me feel like it was a me issue. That's when I knew that it wasn't going to work, and on Sunday, I had him come over to my house and I told him that we are done. He started crying and apologizing, then he turned into a hothead and demanded the ring back and everything that I owned that he bought for me. Crazy, right? Mind you, this happened at my parents' house where I'm currently living. They were already aware of his behavior. When he demanded everything back and refused to leave my bedroom, I just texted my mum for help because it was the first time that he showed genuine rage at me, and I didn't want to get physically hurt. My dad, who's a retired cop, came up and told him to leave. Bucksfin says, "Well, to be fair, if he proposed to you, you should give him back his ring." OP says, "The ring I absolutely did give back, but clothes that I own and have worn multiple times, car keys that he insisted to replace when I lost mine in the past, and other petty things like that, I refuse to just give back." OK Research says, "Totally fair. Returning the ring shows respect, but keeping personal items that you've used and were gifted makes sense. Not everything needs to be handed back out of spite." For those wondering, no, you do not legally retain eternal ownership over items that you willingly gave to someone else. And I bet he would have found some skewed reasoning to keep anything that OP gave him. Exactly. Plus the fact that one of the gifts he was asking for were the keys to her car is especially concerning. Wow. OP dodged a major bullet there. A weird interest in the gene pool. Very lucky that his mask slipped before the wedding and before kids. I dated a guy years ago who told me, on like our second date, that he was worried because I'd been bitten by a black widow as a child and it might affect my future kids. Yeah, that was our last date. 30 plus years on, and I'm still really weirded out about that. Quote, he has a pretty short temper, which is crazy to admit because we're both a part of the LDS church. I was raised Mormon. Everything about this makes a ton of sense to me. Of course he has a short temper when a woman dares contradict him. Of course he thinks her sister is worthless. Women are only of value in the very specific parameters of wife and mother as defined by Mormonism. Spiritually uplifting bangmaid. Plus the angle of everything being about appearance all the time. For men, your perfect family is something you are owed. It's your great heavenly reward, evidence of your righteousness and God's favor. Ties really heavily into prosperity gospel, and your wife and kids are a part of your riches. Honestly, respect to OP for cutting it off that fast. 5 days seems like a goddamn record in just recognizing there is a problem, confronting the problem, and getting rid of him ASAP. And recognizing that you were being gaslit as well by him. Him saying like, oh no, actually, you're the one that had the problem with the sister the whole time. My comments? What? You were just reading into them, weren't you? Obviously, you're the one with the problem. Like, thank you for that, OP. Thank you for having an incredibly tough spine. I know that you do not play games when it comes to your sister, as evidenced by how quick you were to act, and I'm sure your family feels the same way, and they were just as quick to act as you were. And probably just as quick to reassure you that you did nothing wrong, that it was him and his family that are entirely to blame for this. Thank God the trash took itself out. I hope that this is the last that you see of him, and good luck finding someone that genuinely cares for you and for your sister as well. Thank you for the story, and good luck. Our next post is by a deleted account, and it's titled, Am I the asshole here for ruining my best friend's wedding and likely our decades-long friendship? So this happened just a few days ago, and I'm still feeling guilty over what happened. This weekend was my best friend Christian's, 30 male, wedding, and I, 30 male, had the honor of being the best man. Christian and I have been best friends for almost 20 years. He was the best man at my own wedding, and our wives are close too, all that good stuff. The night of the rehearsal dinner arrives, and everyone's ready to have a great time. Then, about 10 minutes into the event, I look over and notice that my wife, Jasmine, 30 female, is shaking and talking in a panic about something to one of the other bridesmaids. I walk over to see what's up, and the bridesmaid tells me that she just witnessed Christian's dad, Robert, 50s male, walk up to my wife and rub her ass multiple times. Then he says to Jasmine, loud enough for the other bridesmaid and her 10-year-old daughter to hear, mind you, essentially, I get to touch you now because it's my son's wedding. I'm 20 feet away. Robert's wife is 20 feet away. Christian is 20 feet away. It didn't seem to stop Robert, though. I immediately see red, but my wife begs me not to do anything. Let me tell you that in over a decade together with Jasmine, I've never once allowed something like this to just slide. And frankly, there's been hardly anyone who had the balls to disrespect my wife at all while I'm around. I'm trying my best not to walk up and deck this guy as hard as I can. If he weren't my best friend's dad and it wasn't a wedding, I'd 100% have ended up in jail for doing something violent. Mind you, I've known Robert for about as long as I've known Christian. Always thought that he was cool before this, but maybe this old dude thought that that meant that we were cool enough that he could assault my wife whenever he wants. Finally, I lose my cool and walk up to Robert, who's nearby, kind of by himself. I put my arm around him and say, "Hey Robert, no more of that shit." He plays dumb at first, acting like he doesn't know what I mean, so I repeat myself. "You know what I'm talking about. No more of that shit." Finally, he seems to get it, stutters some kind of, okay, and we go our separate ways. In my opinion, it should have stopped there. Unfortunately, it seems some of Robert's family may have overheard what happened. All of a sudden, rumors are all flying across the wedding. People know something happened. People are giving my wife dirty looks as Robert and his wife disappear for hours, presumably to fight. Whatever. We get through rehearsal night. Then the next morning, as people are getting ready, Robert approaches me alone and tries to give me a little "we cool" fist bump. It's been less than 12 hours since it happened at this point, so I tell him flat out no, we are not cool. And still, he doesn't get the picture. Hours later, while the bridesmaids are getting ready, he approaches me again and asks, "Where's Jasmine? She's getting dressed right now?" I see red again immediately and say, "Don't effing talk about her." He gets all offended and walks away. Luckily, this was my last direct interaction with him for the weekend. Of course, though, Robert then decides that it's time to go find my wife, again while I'm not there, and try to apologize. Jasmine just says, "Get away from me." Finally, Robert gets it. We don't want apologies, we want to be left alone. Still, the vibe is off for the rest of the time. Robert is sulking, his wife is giving Jasmine dirty looks, and Christian's entire family are whispering every time we're around. It eventually, apparently, got back to Christian. He never talked to me about what happened, never checked in to see if my wife was okay. For reference, I would defend his new wife to the grave if anyone ever tried the same shit with her. The kicker was at the end of the weekend. He said goodbyes to everyone but Jasmine and I. Seems pretty clear to me that he's chosen sides, and we haven't spoken since. Should I have just let it slide? 5% of me says yes for the sake of peace and my friendship with Christian, but 95% of me also says that I stopped something worse from happening. Remember that the guy couldn't keep his hands to himself for more than 10 minutes into the rehearsal. In the comments, your wife's safety and well-being come first, always. His actions were unacceptable sexual assault, and anyone excusing it, including your friend, is wrong. And OP replies, "Thank you. I needed to hear this, honestly. Not the asshole. You didn't ruin anything. Creepy old man did. I understand your friend is in an odd position. Maybe talk it out when some time has passed, or move on. You're fine either way. Honestly, based on his behavior, he would have 100% escalated things with your wife had you not intervened." OP replies, "That was my worry, and if not my wife, then someone else. There were plenty of young women at the wedding, some of them still basically kids. I shudder to think what else may have happened. You're right though, I'm hoping Christian is just trying to figure things out and hasn't totally abandoned our friendship, but we'll see." When asked, does Christian know the real story, OP says, "Honestly, I don't know what he knows right now. My wife and his wife are meeting up tomorrow for drinks, so I have to think it will come up. I didn't even mention that Christian's wife has a long history of her own problems with Robert and Robert's wife, so it's not like she'll be coming to defend them. Has Robert done something like this in the past?" OP says, "To be honest, yes. One time 2 years ago, Jasmine thought that she might have felt him tap her on the ass at a gathering. My dumb ass tried to give him the benefit of the doubt because even she wasn't sure, but now I'm 1,000% sure that it happened." Back up to the post, there's an edit. "Appreciate you all so much. This is making me realize the position my friend is in is likely extremely awkward and that we need to have a conversation. At the wedding itself, I really wanted nothing to get back to him and ruin his wedding, which is why we haven't talked about it. We all just got home last night. Jasmine and Christian's wife are meeting up for usual drinks tomorrow night, and Jasmine has resolved to tell her everything. They are very close, so I'm sure Christian's wife will believe my wife. That being said, I'm not sure where things will ultimately fall. In the meantime / coming days, I do have to come up with a way to reach out to Christian. I want to keep the friendship if I can, for sure. We've been through honestly everything together." I honestly completely understand where OP is coming from with this one. And yeah, it sucks that your hands are kind of tied because I think OP made the right choice in not saying anything during the wedding because that is their time, that is their day. And, there's always drama. There's always some kind of drama, but, adding more to the mix, adding confrontation like that would have just made it worse and would have sullied, Christian's view of you in his eyes. In that, yes, you would have done the right thing to bring up his dad being a creep, but that will taint the memory of his wedding. And you want the memory of his wedding to be about him and his special time. Unfortunately, some people have a habit of inserting themselves in a very dramatic sense into people's weddings. And that is what this dickhead creep is doing. He doesn't want to control himself because he's a freak. And I think you are not the asshole, and I don't think you're ruining your best friend's wedding, and I don't think you've ruined your lifelong friendship. I'm sure his wife is able to bring him back to a sense of normality and get him to realize, hey, your dad is a freak. Your dad does not deserve to be given the benefit of the doubt. Your dad is not able to control himself. You need to talk to OP, and you need to get that freak under control. So I don't think anything bad will happen as a result of this. I don't think that he's taking sides. I think he was just being quiet for the sake of his wedding, and that he was ultimately embarrassed for what his dad had done. And now, on to the update. Alright guys, thank you again to everyone who gave me advice. You're all strangers, and yet you couldn't have been kinder to me in a trying time. For your sake, I wish I could say this has a more interesting ending, but most of you are right. Christian is disgusted by his dad and is fully on Jasmine and I's side. We're still bros, and he apologized profusely to my wife when she stopped over to meet up with his wife. We've spoken since, and all is good now. Who knows how Christian's relationship with Robert will go from here on out, but all things considered, I'm fine where things landed. Sorry for anyone expecting more drama, but I'm just glad to have my brother back. In the comments, great news. Out of curiosity though, as Christian hadn't even said goodbye to you and your wife, as well as his mum giving Jasmine dirty looks, what was the actual rumor being spread around? Because it sounds like something framing Jasmine as the bad guy went around. OP says, he was embarrassed and sad from what I understand. That's all. To be honest, he's like a little brother to me. I get that it would have been hard to confront me. Another commenter says, I'm glad he understands the full story and stands by you and your wife. Communication is key. I'm happy for all of you. Congrats on your buddy's wedding, and screw Robert. Peter says, I see some comments state that the dad might have dementia. I get where they're coming from, but in real life, sometimes some older people really are just rude or pure creeps. This is one of those moments. It's also entirely possible that he has dementia and is a rude creep. Even if that's the case, the entire family, especially his wife, shouldn't have behaved as if Jasmine was a homewrecker floozy, and they should have had someone to keep him in line. Was Robert always like this? He may have some early onset dementia or something that may make him lose all inhibitions. Either way, it's good that you and Christian remain bros. That's the first thought that came to my mind when the OP said that Robert was always a stand-up guy. Is he losing his mind doing something like that in public? Or maybe some medication is causing executive dysfunction, or maybe he's just a predator who knew damn well what he was doing. Regardless, I'm glad the son is not enabling his father. Honestly, whatever the reason is, I absolutely agree with that. Thank God the son is not enabling the father. Thank God there is no twisted narrative where an entire family is coming out against a victim and shunning and silencing them and gaslighting them into thinking that the victim is the one that did wrong here. Thank you for the story, OP. I'm sorry that you had to deal with all of that. You didn't deserve it. She didn't deserve it. And that old freak deserves some punishment for what he's done. I hope that you shame him in the future, or you do get some revenge. But if you don't, that's fine as well. Thank you for the story, and thank you for the update. Am I the asshole for not adopting my wife's child? I, 27 male, used to have a wonderful relationship with the woman I love, 26 female. However, 5 years ago, she got drunk, had a one-night stand, and got pregnant from it. Can't be mine. I can't have kids due to a horseback riding injury when I was a teen. I didn't get the guy's name, no way to find him, so he's out of the picture. My wife decided to keep it, and we almost went through a divorce, but couples therapy made us decide to try again. We're still in therapy now, since I still have a hard time trusting her. So she had her son. We talked a lot about it, and I made it clear that I'm okay taking on a step-parent role, but I wasn't willing to fully be his dad. I wouldn't adopt him, but I would help her raise him and get him off to college. My wife agreed to this, became a stay-at-home mum so she could take care of him with help from her parents, and I've pretty much been the fun uncle-like guy. I play with him, I buy him games, I try my best not to resent him, and I'm in therapy for this, and mostly just stay out of the way of my wife's parenting. He even calls me uncle instead of dad. He knows that I'm not his father, and is just happy to play video games with me and chill. Well, recently, my wife has started talking to me about adopting him, which is something I'm not willing to do. I made it clear that if anything happened, he would go live with her parents, and I would send child support. If they couldn't take him, I wouldn't put him into foster care or anything, but I also wasn't willing to take on the responsibility of being his father when I'm not. I'm happy being an uncle to another man's kid, since that's what life threw at me. This has greatly upset her, and she's trying to find a way to force me into adopting him. She's even been manipulating the poor kid, saying that he should start calling me dad instead of uncle like he has his entire life, which is upsetting and confusing the poor boy. This situation has worked for the last 5 years, and I don't know why she's trying to change something that isn't broken or force me into a role that I told her years ago I wasn't willing to accept, which she was fine with until just recently. In the comments, Schmambo says, "Everyone sucks here. Everything about this is pretty terrible. Her cheating, you purposefully distancing yourself from the child, who was not yours through no fault of your own, not to mention you being the only father figure he's ever known. Dads don't need to be blood. You all sound like assholes, except the little one, obviously, who I just feel so sorry for. Sort your shit out for his sake." Anchovy Mac and Cheese says, "Exactly. If OP couldn't grow past his resentment to the kid not being his, then he never should have agreed to stay in the relationship. It's not fair to the child. Either he needs to be all in or out. It's not that easy to just not resent. He's doing something better than being all out. He's still contributing to his life. It's sad that he hasn't come along more, but he's not a total asshole. Everyone sucks here. Edit, I've changed my view. I think the thought that the kid is better without him completely is true. The fact that he can't step into the role because he must have so much resentment being called dad is too much. Still, everyone sucks here replies. The mother is also doing herself and kid a disservice. You may want to check with an attorney. Regardless of whether or not he's your biological child, you have been raising and supporting him. Even if you don't adopt him, he's likely yours in the eyes of the court. That said, not the asshole. You had an agreement, you supported her decision to keep the baby, you worked through her infidelity. She wants to have her cake and eat it too. OP replies, I've checked with 2 lawyers, one actually my brother-in-law, and one an outside party. I was not put on the birth certificate, and was actually told by both that the fact that he wasn't mine was grounds for a quick divorce, no matter how long it's been. If we divorced tomorrow, I would basically be walking away free. My brother-in-law was disgusted with his sister when he found out, and was even the one to suggest that I get the divorce. My other lawyer is much more neutral about it all, so I trust what he says. Love of All Sheep says, not the asshole. Once she cheated on you, she lost the right to ask anything of you. You set boundaries that she agreed to, and now she pulled this child into this to try to get her way. You worked through divorce once, but something like confusing the kid by making him call you dad when you've been uncle all his life would be a deal breaker for me. You're gonna have to sit down with her and let her know that if she's going back on her word, she's making your previous decision to divorce come back to light. Not the asshole otherwise. I'm on board with that one. I understand the argument of, he is just as bad as her by staying in the relationship and kind of leading her and leading the child on. But I personally think he did a pretty damn good job of setting healthy, realistic boundaries with her and was able to salvage the relationship. He kept it going for such a long time, and I applaud that. She's the one that cheated. She's the one that had a child with someone else. She's the one that is shifting goalposts right now. I understand that it's unhealthy for the child to be calling someone that should, by all rights, be a father figure to him, dad, like she is doing, but I don't think he is the bad guy in this situation. She is the original instigator of sin. She is allowing sin to continue and fester. Everything is on her, in my opinion. I think OP is an asshole to himself for not just leaving as soon as she cheated all that time ago. I personally don't agree with his decision to remain married to her and continuing the charade this whole time, because I feel like to anyone, it's obvious that this would have been the end game at some point, that she was going to continue to push those boundaries that he set up that allowed the situation to continue as it was. I can see why people think he did wrong by agreeing to stay in that situation and remaining married to her. That's valid. And you can say everyone sucks here for that reason, though I'm of the mind that he's not the asshole here. And now, onto the update. So after reading everything, I told my wife that I was leaving and pursuing that divorce. I think I've been ready to do so for a while, but I just needed the push. This has led to a complete meltdown, but I stayed firm, I packed everything up, and moved in with my brother across town. I've already contacted a landlord to tell him that I would pay for 2 more months of rent. After that, everything needs to be switched to her. Talking to my lawyer, it was verified that, due to the process I went through after the birth to establish I wasn't the father, I would not have to pay child support or alimony, which is something very rare and uncommon anyway where I live. He's already working on the paperwork. No idea when it'll all happen, but once it does, I'll cut full contact. My wife has tried to call and text multiple times, but I've refused to talk. I'll post another update when I know more. Which just didn't happen, unfortunately. In the comments, Dookie61 says, "Not the asshole." I'm very disappointed in some of the responses you've received. Your wife and that child of hers are lucky that you've taken on the role that you did. I'm sure both of their lives are better off with you being there and supporting them. She got selfish and pushed too hard for something that you'd already settled with her before the child's birth. Would she have preferred that you just left her cold, no contact at the time of the cheating? The bottom line is that you have to live with yourself, so it's you that has to be happy with your decisions. Personally, I agree with you. Actually, I doubt I would have stayed with a cheater at all. I wish you the best going forward, and remember, it is your decision and yours alone. Supreme Bystonk says, "Let me just say this real quick. You are not the asshole. You dealt amazingly with what life threw at you. You tried your hardest to make things work. You were nice to the kid because you knew that it wasn't his fault that this happened. You shouldn't be expected to adopt a kid that your wife had with another man whilst you were married. It depends on your relationship with the kid and how you view him. If you kinda like him, you could stay in touch with him via email secretly or something, but it's completely up to you. You are in the right. They should have split when she was pregnant. That poor kid." I agree. Waiting so long only hurts the kid. I can pity the child while also understanding that this man isn't obligated to destroy himself for her choices. She did the impossible, got him to stay with her. She could have left it alone, let him have the relationship he was comfortable having with the kid. The boy had a loving male presence, and they were both fine with it. Instead, she pushed his boundaries, confused the kid, and caused all of this mess. Entirely her fault. Yeah, people get so emotional and irrational whenever there's a child in a story. In stories like this, so many people think everyone should immediately flock to love the kid unconditionally and care for them as a parent, no matter their actual connection or lack thereof. The kid was doing fine with a mother and an uncle. The situation was stable, the wife was able to be a stay-at-home mum, OP was the fun uncle. OP did not have to be in 100%, and he definitely wasn't a bad person for resenting the kid, which he actually didn't. He worked on himself specifically not to resent the kid. I hate the comment that OP purposefully distanced himself from the kid. Like what? What OP did is he purposely stayed close to the kid and still contributed to his upbringing. The default here isn't OP being a full parent, the default is OP being biologically and emotionally unrelated to the kid. He put effort to go in, not out. They had an agreement that worked, and the wife pushed it. Then started manipulating her son. She is the sole asshole of the story, not just because of the cheating, but also because of that pushing and manipulation. OP did nothing wrong. Again, I agree. I don't understand why there were so many "everyone sucks here" comments on that original post. I really do feel like when there's a child involved, people do lose their minds and go, well, we need to forgive her for cheating on you because you decided to stick it out in that relationship, you know? You brought it upon yourself, buddy, so you need to just suck it up and go along with her boundary pushing. Hell no. She had it so good for so long. She can't have even more cake while eating it too. I really feel like that was an incredibly unbalanced situation that he agreed to. I don't know why he decided to stick it out in that marriage with her. I feel like any sane person would see the writing on the wall and just leave. But hey, that's not me. I'm not married. I'm not in that marriage, so I don't understand it from their perspective. Sometimes reality is stranger than fiction, so thank God he did the right thing. Thank God he got out of there, and he's still not the asshole. And on top of that, dodging child support is crazy. What a lucky fella. Good on him. Our next post is by user Stomatella, and it's titled, My boyfriend, male 25, and I, female 23, had an argument that is giving me red flags. Is it enough to leave our years-long relationship? Please advise. So my boyfriend and I have been together for over 5 years and have lived together for 1.5 years now. For context, I was getting ready to go to a Halloween potluck with some of my girlfriends and their respective boyfriends. When I was getting ready, my boyfriend began discussing the idea of a curfew with me, explaining that no woman should be out late because nothing good happens late into the night, and that I shouldn't be out until 3 a.m. Oh, God. Yeah, he might have some red flags. Who knows? I explained that I don't want to be out that long, but the idea of him putting a curfew on me made me uncomfortable. He told me that unless he is physically there with me, I, a female, shouldn't be out of the house that late and at a party. I told him there's no need for him to be this controlling with me and that I was confused, since he'd never done anything like this before. I go to social events pretty regularly, but I rarely go to parties like this, maybe once every 3 months. He was also invited twice to come to this party with me and declined. I asked my boyfriend why he's saying all this, and he said that I have standards. These are my standards. If you don't like them, you don't have to live with me anymore. I'm not budging on this. And then explained that now I expect you to be home at 1 a.m. because you're pissing me off, but I should be saying 11 p.m. This freaked me out. I packed a bag, left to my parents' house, and haven't been back since. Psycho boyfriend final boss. I don't know what to do from here. I want to emphasize that he's never done anything like this before, which really threw me off, and hence why I'm asking for advice on an internet forum. I left the house crying and upset, and my boyfriend hasn't reached out in over 72 hours to check in or initiate a chat. Ideally, I would like a conversation to be started by him, but I'm convinced my boyfriend has no shame for his actions and believes that I am the one in the wrong. Please let me know what you, an unbiased random internet stranger, thinks about this situation. I love the relationship my boyfriend and I have built together, but this seems like a huge red flag to me. In the comments, VButt says, Girl, you're 100% right. This is a huge red flag. Multiple, actually. Him referring to women as females, putting restrictions on you, getting angry because you disagreed with him, punishing you because he's angry. You're probably right that he has no shame and thinks you're completely in the wrong, but that's okay. You're not going to be able to convince a guy this delusional. It is absolutely enough to leave your years-long relationship. If you stay, he will continue to try and exert more and more control over you, and you'll be stuck in an abusive relationship. Wow, somewhere he got the idea that controlling and dominating you would put you in your place. I would never talk to him again. This is just a glimpse into what the future would be like with him. It kind of sounds like he instigated this in order to cause a breakup. So after 5 years dating and 1.5 years living together, he announces a new standard to force you to move out of his place? I assume that this was his place and you moved in with him. Weird and pretty rotten of him. I'm awfully sorry that this is happening to you, but it sounds like he dreamed this up to give you the boot. OP replies, Yes. His parents own the place, but we both pay rent on it. Just not an official lease or anything. It genuinely didn't feel like he was trying to give me the boot, but more like he wasn't going to relent on this new standard of his. and that our place of living is something in his control, which is what he wanted in this situation. Rit Post Rit replies, make arrangements to pick up the rest of your stuff and move back in with your parents until you can find another place to live. End it with this guy. No sense in guessing why he's behaving this way. All you need to know is that he is behaving this way, and that's a good enough reason to break up. Yeah, this guy's a psycho, and he is just trying to control you, strip you of your individuality, of your person, and eventually will escalate this behavior. Sounds like he's been spending too much time on Twitter and on the darker side of TikTok. Who are you, a female, to talk back to me like that? You need to get in your place, where you belong, barefoot, pregnant, and in the kitchen. But also, unfortunately, in this economy, I can't afford to run the house by myself, so you'll also need to get a full-time job while being submissive, barefoot, pregnant, and my bangmaid. Like, that is the energy that this guy is giving off. And unfortunately, unless he's a millionaire, it doesn't exactly work out that way in this modern age. And as we've seen before in other stories where they offered to pay you a salary to stay at home, even when they're a millionaire, it doesn't work out because it just never does. It's all about control. It's all about manipulation. People like these guys are bad news, and they will end up stalking you after you break up with them because, they don't have power over you anymore. Isn't that just so fantastic? I love people like that. They definitely don't deserve to have unspeakable things done to them. And now, on to the update. So this update is not easy for me to write, but I'm moving out of state next week, and I want to put this out to finally lay this chapter of my life to rest. The argument from the post occurred on Saturday late afternoon. I posted to Reddit a few days later after I hadn't heard from my boyfriend. By Wednesday, I placed an order for a U-Haul truck to move out the following Saturday, the soonest time my family could help, but I still hadn't heard from him. My family thought it was best not to tell my boyfriend that I was coming to pick up my belongings until the day of, because we were afraid that he would destroy my things. My boyfriend is an extreme minimalist, so all the furniture, decor, tools, etc. came 100% out of my pocket. At that point, I had thousands of dollars worth of belongings in there and even more invaluable mementos. Anyways, Saturday comes round and I still hadn't heard anything on his end. I texted him that morning, telling him my parents were coming to remove my belongings and to please be out of the house while they do so. He texted me back, "No, stop telling me what to do." At this point, he knows they're coming and exactly when. For my safety, I stayed home. When my parents get there, my mother knocks on the door. No answer. Doorbell, no answer. I texted her to go into the garage and see if the boyfriend's vehicle is there. The garage opens, and he had thrown my belongings into the garage. Things were scattered about the garage floor. Whatever. They noted that his vehicle was there though, so he must be inside. My family starts grabbing stuff from the floor and putting it into the truck. My boyfriend comes out, and my mother says he looks psychotic almost. He doesn't do drugs and wasn't drinking for health reasons, but he looked off. When he came out, he made it very clear to my mother that he was holding a gun in his sweatpants pocket, and he told them to get off his property. My mother asked him if he was all right. Remember, my boyfriend and I had been together for a long time at this point. My family knows him well. This was all such strange behavior from him, and my mother was genuinely concerned. In response, he tells my mom, "I'm fine. Why wouldn't I be?" My mom asked if she could go inside and get the rest of my belongings, and boyfriend says no. My mother reminds him that I've been without my essentials for a week now. Medication, glasses and contacts, work badge and underpants, and asks to step inside for 5 minutes to retrieve those things. He agrees. My mother walks into the house and sees an AR-57 set up in the kitchen, ready to go. She immediately turned around, told everyone outside loading the truck to get in the car, and went home. I spent the next few hours trying to arrange a police escort for the rest of my belongings. In hindsight, we should have done so in the first place. As I was working with that, my mum called the homeowners, aka his parents, who live 2 to 3 hours away. We tell them everything up to this point, and they are distraught. They say they're on their way. We received a call from their parents later that evening that boyfriend is out of the house and being monitored back at their home. We moved everything out afterwards. I get a text from boyfriend that Sunday where he essentially says that he didn't know that I was breaking up with him, that he was waiting for me to reach out to him while he was reflecting on everything that happened, blah blah. We went back and forth a bit, where I was telling him that he threatened my family and that I couldn't forgive him. He said he wanted to talk about everything, and I told him that I wasn't ready for that. I followed it up with a, "You should work on yourself, and if I want to talk, I will reach out" type of text. He responded with a bunch of OKs, and then, "Just don't fuck your ex. I hate that guy. I heard really bad things about him." He's referring to himself here, since he's the only boyfriend I've had. It was super strange and off-putting to receive a joking text like that when a few hours earlier he threatened my family with guns. I ignored him. He also sent an interesting apology to my mother. To me, it's a liability thing that his lawyer mother asked him to send. Highlights included, "I know you felt threatened by what you saw," and "There is no excuse for having guns out while there are people present at my house. Seeing a gun, concealed or otherwise, in that sort of situation is enough to shock someone, especially those unfamiliar with these weapons. And my parents agree and have asked me to give my guns up until I'm more responsible and careful." He texted me again the next day saying, "I know I've acted nonchalant about things, and it's not a good habit. I can't continue to live in limbo. I hope you will come over and talk to me in person. False hope is not doing me any good. I need to move on with my life." Where I responded, "I do not want to give you false hope, but I'm not in a place of forgiveness. I think it's time that we continue to move on with our separate lives." This is when he responded with, "Listen, come talk to me. I feel awful that I used your own love for me as a lever against you. I hate the person who did that to you, and every day I try to bury that part of me." Lots to digest there. We exchanged a few more texts, and I naively agreed to have a conversation in person. I would not have it at the house, it would be during the day, and it would be in public. I now understand that I should never have entertained this idea in the first place. I was emotional and confused at that time. I had been with my boyfriend for years at this point and wanted clarity on what drove him to do this. I told him my availability to talk on a Thursday, and he said he wasn't sure if he was available, but would let me know. I didn't hear back from him until Thursday at 8:15 p.m. when he asked, "Are you still coming or no?" A location hadn't been discussed, and it was dark out. I suggested we meet the following morning, and that's when he sends, "8:30 is late for you now?" Followed by, "I said your curfew was 1 a.m., so you're good, and just get your ass over here and talk. I am not doing this 9 a.m. bullshit, or I'll put a scorpion in your bed." I responded, and he texts back, "I'm on my way." "I'm sorry, you're what?" At this point, I was in a new safe place in location A. My mother was in location B, and my father was in location C. I had to call everyone and let them know that my ex-boyfriend was going to show up at one of their locations, since he knows where they both live. He showed up at location C, where my father was. My father told me that he was scared for his safety and home. Luckily, nothing happened. Ex-boyfriend waited outside for a bit after texting me here and left. This whole night rattled me. I stayed up all night, scared he was going to show up at my mum's place next, or mine. I ignored his texts, he started to call, left an eerily calm, cool, and collected voicemail, wondering when we were going to chat, saying that if I wanted to have that conversation, I am welcome to the house whenever. I texted him back, threatening a restraining order if he made contact again. A month later, he texted, "Hey, obviously what happened happened. I'm sorry I made you feel unsafe. That's not who I am as a person, or who I would want to be. I wish you the best in whatever you do," and that is the last that I've heard from him. All of this could have played out way worse. I'm relieved for the safety of my family and my own. I'm fortunate enough to have gotten out when I did, and yes, I understand things could have been done differently on my end. I learned a lot about myself through this experience. I chose to text my ex-boyfriend in the non-confrontational way that I did for my safety. We live in a small community, and I genuinely believe that this man is dangerous and could harm my family, my dog, my friends, etc. if I angered him. We're all within a mile or two of each other, and he knows where to find all of them, and me, if he wanted to. I condensed some of the details for the sake of brevity in this post. I have screenshots of all the texts that I quoted above. I'm happy to answer questions in the comments. In the comments, Terurial says, "This one was genuinely unhinged. I'm wondering if something happened off-screen to him that the OP is still likely unaware of. He sounds like a combination of red pill manosphere nonsense, perhaps, coupled with the onset of schizophrenia in his mid-20s. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Why does it feel like his parents are doing next to nothing about any of it, though? I realize he's an adult, but Jesus Christ. They're lawyers, more interested in covering their own asses, and probably their professional reputations to boot. Once they've successfully swept this under the rug, they'll ship him off to a care facility and let him come back when he's properly medicated." It really gave me vibes that he was going to gun down that family when they were in the house. And I do not blame them at all for immediately tucking tail and running out of that house and being like, "Hey guys, just no reason at all, but we all just need to get the fuck out of here right now. No reason at all. Hey boyfriend, ex-boyfriend over there, you're chill. Don't worry about me getting the stuff. You're getting what you want. We just need to go grab something else before we come back." Ha ha ha. Oh my god, I don't blame OP for moving states. I do not blame her at all. The way he's texting, his communication style, his, I'm not doing any of that 9 a.m. bullshit. I've seen this kind of stuff before, and it's never a good sign. That is not a good person on the other end of the phone. That is some evil, dark energy that person is giving off, and for OP's sake, it is so good that she is leaving that area because staying there is not going to do her any favors. I really do hope his lawyer parents do ship him off to a care facility and get him properly medicated. It is what he needs. He needs intervention. Something is not right with that boy. Something is seriously wrong. Everything he's done here is disgusting. And them sweeping it under the rug is also disgusting, but what are you going to do? It comes with the territory. It's expected behavior. Thank you for the story, OP. Much appreciated. I hope that he does not stalk you after all of this and that he remains gone. Good luck. Am I the asshole here for filing restraining orders on a pair of missionaries? I used to be, and technically still am, a member of the Latter-day Saints/Mormon Church. I've tried to get my records removed, but it's gone nowhere, and I still get members and missionaries showing up to my house, even when I moved. Well, in the past 2 months, I've been visited once a week by the same pair of missionaries, along with one of my male cousins. They can't visit a single lady unless another male is with them. I tell them each week to stop visiting and tell whichever cousin they bring that it's not welcome, necessary, or funny, and they really need to stop. Well, they came over last Saturday while I was having a barbecue with some friends and co-workers, and they just started mingling and preaching to my guests. I didn't even realize they were there because I was on the grill until one of my co-workers came up to me and basically complained about me inviting him to the barbecue as an excuse to get my church members to preach to him and his boyfriend. I had to apologize and explain to him the situation and promise that it wasn't like that at all. I decided I was done. They didn't even try to find me, they just harassed my guests and came into my property uninvited, so I called the police. They showed up and said they can ask them to leave, but they can't really do anything else since I didn't ask them to leave myself first. So I showed them my Ring footage and how I've been asking them to stop coming to my house for 2 months, and they said I could file for a restraining order for stalking, but it might not go anywhere. So they walked me through the online forms, and I have a hearing soon. Since then, the church members have sent me emails, their youth have heart-attacked my door/porch, and my Latter-day Saint family have made Facebook posts about me being the literal devil. With the hearing getting closer, I'm starting to feel nervous, and like maybe I've blown everything out of proportion. Like these missionaries are still teens, and maybe I should be redirecting my anger at my family, who are probably the ones behind it. Am I the asshole here if I go through with the hearing? In the comments, Sharp Subject says, Quote, until one of my co-workers came up to me and basically complained about me inviting him to a barbecue as an excuse to get my church members to preach to him and his boyfriend. Not the asshole. They could have gotten you fired. Go to the hearing. OP says, I didn't even think of that. Luckily, he was cool about it after I explained the situation, but what if he didn't come to me and he just left instead? That's making me really mad now that I think about it. Convivial Cat says, just because you think he was cool about it after your explanation doesn't mean that this incident didn't make him totally change his perception of you as a co-worker and a person. And what about other co-workers who were just as upset but didn't say anything? I think you have deeply underestimated the lasting effects that this will have on your relationship with your co-workers and your job. If I were one of your co-workers, this type of thing would have caused me to leave your barbecue and would have permanently damaged our working relationship. And OP replies, oh gosh, I didn't think about that either. There were a couple that didn't show up, but what if they did and saw the missionaries and just noped out? And what about your non-LDS friends at the barbecue? They may have had an unpleasant experience as well. You may have some repair work that you need to do with them. OP says, a lot of them know that I don't go to that church anymore and were there when the police showed up, so we were able to talk about it at the barbecue. I'm mostly worried about my co-workers. Neighborhood Tasty says, after your hearing, you could send an email/update to the co-workers who were invited/there to let them know the follow-up of your actions, underlining how seriously you took the intrusion. Not the asshole. Get the restraining order, block everyone harassing you online. Hopefully the stuff at your house is on your door camera. Send all the footage to your lawyer or court point of contact. They have escalated their behavior, so you definitely need the order. If they'd just given up, you might have dropped it. If regular teens were repeatedly vandalizing your house, you'd take appropriate steps. Don't let their religion get in the way. You deserve peace. Please don't feel guilty. They brought it on themselves. Back up to the post, there's an edit. Well, it's been 2 hours, and I think I've gotten enough advice and encouragement to help me. Thank you all. I will go to the hearing still. You're right. If they weren't missionaries, I wouldn't even be questioning it. I will be messaging my co-workers and apologizing and letting them know about the restraining order hearing, and I'll be going low contact with my LDS family. And for those that asked, heart attacking is taping paper hearts with the Book of Mormon and Bible quotes and little I miss you notes to people's front doors, windows, and porches. I've also been told that it's literally love bombing, which I've never noticed before, so that's cool. Damn, they're literally love bombing them with heart attacking. That's a new one. I had never known that the LDS does that, although they are not as active in my city as they are in other places in Australia, and I've never had to deal with them personally, so, maybe this is just a niche LDS tactic that they only do in Utah and not over here. Regardless, I think it's more than appropriate to get a restraining order against them because these assholes, these absolute dickheads, have gone and very likely destroyed a lot of the goodwill that you have been earning at work, especially with a barbecue like this. This was a gesture of good fortune, and that can be misconstrued as whatever it was with those dickheads at the barbecue that, from your perspective, they weren't invited. But how are these co-workers to know that? Especially when there is a same-sex couple there being targeted and singled out. How is that going to look to everyone else at your work? This is a nightmare scenario. It really feels like, no, you have to get the restraining order to show that you were serious about you not being the one that set this up to target this same-sex couple that you work with. Absolutely not the asshole for that one. You're just looking after yourself. I don't blame you. And now, on to the updates. Hello all. I said that I wouldn't be logging in again, but these last 2 months have been very draining for me, and I thought writing everything down and putting all my feelings out might make me feel better. So here's an update. 2 days before the hearing, my uncle, who was also the ward bishop for the elders, showed up to my house with the missionaries. I took the advice on my post and only spoke to them through my Ring app. I told them if they didn't leave, I would be calling the police. One elder left to sit in the car, and my uncle and the other elder stayed at my door. My uncle told me that I was being dramatic and that I'm too sensitive, that me protecting my safe space was going to ruin a young man's life. I told them that I put a request in for an RO and that they knew this and they were still harassing me. My uncle said that they weren't going to leave until I came out and talked to them like an adult so we could solve this restraining order issue without the courts. I told them to leave again, and I called the police when it was obvious they weren't going to. The cops showed up and trespassed my uncle and arrested the missionary that did not go to the car. I explained to them about the hearing that was going to happen and showed them the footage of them trying to get me to not go to the hearing. I felt really bad, and I still do. And I know a lot of you are going to say that I shouldn't, but I do. I spent the 2 days after that getting calls and texts from people I love, calling me all sorts of terrible things and telling me that I'm a disappointment. The guy I've been talking to had to take my phone away from me and block everyone because he knew I wouldn't. I went to the hearing and was granted the RO for harassment. And then I had my mum and dad show up to my house the next day to give me a piece of their mind, and now I hate myself. So that's great. I sent the paperwork to the mission president and asked to be put on the do not contact list, like a commenter told me to do. I was told that the missionary that was arrested had his visa revoked, so they're sending him back home early. I was basically told if anything happens to him before they can get him a flight home, then it's my fault. People have posted about me getting innocent men in trouble and wanting my own kind deported on social media. Even though he wasn't deported, his visa was just revoked. So I've had my house egged, rocks thrown at my windows, and ice bags left on my porch for the last month. Even some of my friends and co-workers, who told me to go through with the restraining order, are saying that I went too far. But I didn't know that he was here on a visa. As far as I know, he is back home and safe. But that's it. That's the update. My friends, family, and co-workers hate me, and I hate myself too. But hey, at least I'm not minorly inconvenienced by missionaries and awkward 5-minute conversations anymore. Oh my god. That ending though, Jesus. In the comments, Orphan Blood says, "I'm so sorry this is happening to you. Leaving this cult is brave of you, and you're doing everything right. I'm fucking proud of you. We support you, do not back down, you got this. Not the asshole whatsoever. No, stop that shit right now. Your family are shitbags who don't deserve you, and they weren't mildly inconveniencing you. They did this. Don't get despaired, get angry. Do something about this, goddammit, anything. How dare you say we're harassing you? We would never do that. And just for that, we're gonna egg your house. The consequences of that guy suffering the consequences of his actions are your consequences. Seriously though, stepping into the effing barbecue is a step too far. They get whatever is coming to them at that point. He should have known a hell of a lot better than to mess around when he was here on a visa, and that's totally on him. If I report a guy for burglary or drunk driving or something, and then it turns out he was on his last warning to lose his kids or some shit, that has nothing to do with me. Obviously they don't deserve the privilege if they can't keep it together. If you're on thin ice, it's your job to tread carefully. I couldn't agree with that more. It's not OP's fault that his visa was taken off him. That is 100% on him, and it's some bullshit that tribalistic mentality all came together to dismantle OP's life, to dismantle her reputation, to make her feel like the worst person on earth, because she decided not to be in their club anymore. And you know what? Oh, the consequences for not being in our fun little club is basically social death. We will make sure that you feel like the worst person in the world for defending your privacy, for standing up for yourself. We will punish this with death, pretty much. I hate that so much. I'm so sorry you had to deal with that, OP. You didn't deserve it. No one deserves that. And please stop feeling down like that. Please stop beating yourself up over it. I think you should keep those people blocked, and until any of them also do the same as you and leave the little cult that they're in, I don't think you should talk to them again, personally. Look what happened when you tried to stand up for yourself. It's not going to be different in the future. Thank you for the story, OP, and good luck. Our next post is by user Passion for Driving, and it's titled, My boyfriend's sister told me she has feelings for me, and I have no idea what to do. So this is a mess, and I haven't told anyone about it yet. I've been dating my boyfriend, we've been together for almost 3 years, and I've always had a pretty chill relationship with his family. His younger sister, she's 29, I'm 34 female, has always been super friendly, and honestly, I thought we just got along really well. But last weekend, she came over to hang out while my boyfriend was working late, and I don't know, something felt off. She kept touching my arm, complimenting me more than usual, and then after a couple of drinks, she just came out and said it. That she's had feelings for me for a while and thinks we'd be perfect together in another life, or something. I just froze. I kinda laughed it off because I didn't know what else to do and changed the topic. But now I feel weird around her, and I don't know if I should tell my boyfriend. I don't want to make things awkward with his family or start drama, but I also feel like I'm keeping a secret that could blow up later. She hasn't texted me since, but I can't stop thinking about it. What do I even say? Do I bring it up with him, or do I just let it go and hope that it never happens again? In the comments, another Dominion says, "You should tell him ASAP, and stop hanging around her. I saw a post today where a woman said that she ruined her marriage because when she was dating her husband, his brother tried to sleep with her and she rejected him, but never told her husband about it. Years later, the brother told her husband in a fight to ask her about what happened, and now he doesn't know what to believe." OP says, "I'll tell him this weekend." Bramblefish says, "Be very clear about what was said and not said. Be very clear about what was done and not done. Try to avoid his mind from spiraling. Talk to your boyfriend and let him know about it and how it happened so it doesn't bite you in the ass later, but other than that, do nothing and let it go." And OP says, "I'll do it." That's a terrible sister, not gonna lie. She just confessed her feelings. It's not really her fault, and it really sucks for her too. Her feelings are not her fault, but acting on them is. I totally agree that she shouldn't be shamed for catching feelings, but communicating them was not the way to go. If I were in his sister's shoes and absolutely couldn't live without communicating them, I'd have talked to the brother about it and already come with a game plan of distancing myself until I could get over the feelings while communicating that I don't want to get in the middle of anything or reduce trust. Also, there isn't any information in here about whether or not the sister is out or not. In case she isn't, this puts OP in a terrible situation of, in order to maintain trust in her own relationship, outing the sister. In case the sister isn't out, this could easily be seen as manipulative by the sister as a way of ensuring OP doesn't share her advances. Yeah, I think it is very stupid not to say anything about it. I also don't understand why, in the situation where the brother tried to come on to the wife, and she didn't say anything about... Why? Why wouldn't you say anything about it? Like, I know you wouldn't want to be confrontational, but this is pretty serious business. I really feel like you gotta put your desire to keep the peace below what is right. Because yeah, what if they do turn it on you in the future? And I don't think it was right for the brother to turn it on OP in the future to the husband and say, "Oh, ask her about it all those years later." Like, what kind of gotcha is that? Ha! I got you, big bro. I came onto your wife all those years ago and she kept that from you to keep the peace. The only way that's going to be used is in spite, to be like, see? You can't trust her. You can trust nothing about that woman because she wouldn't even tell you about the time that I came onto her like that. And now you can't even trust me either, huh? Everyone's lying to you and your life is a lie. And I did this to make you feel so shit about everything. Like, this is why you just have to be honest with your partner. Imagine some psycho doing that, and just with one fell swoop, dismantling all the work you did to build trust in your relationship. Absolutely not. Tell him, OP. And now, onto the update. So I finally told my boyfriend. I was super nervous, but I just couldn't keep it bottled up any longer. I told him what his sister said and how weird I'd been feeling since. His reaction was honestly kind of surprising. He stayed calm and said something like, "Yeah, she might just be messing around or testing you." He didn't seem shocked at all. More like he was trying to figure out if this was serious or just her being her. What does that mean? What kind of relationship do these two have? What? Then he went and talked to her, calmly. And later, the three of us sat down together. My heart was pounding the entire time. And they both just laughed. A lot. Apparently she was just testing me, like, as some kind of weird joke or whatever. I wasn't exactly amused. I got kinda mad. I told them both that this was really not cool. I mean, who does that? She apologized, and to be fair, she said some really sweet things about me. Said that she thinks that I'm great for her brother, and that she respects our relationship, and that no, she absolutely doesn't have feelings for me. She said she has a boyfriend, and she's not even into women like that. I told them both, straight up, to not ever pull something like that again. Like, ever. So yeah, weird week. Still processing. Thanks for all the advice. Seriously. In the comments, OK Temporary says, they opened Pandora's box, or more specifically, she did. You will never truly know if she meant it or not. She might have just tried to cover her ass with her brother, and this might be in your head for ages every time you interact with her, because rationally that test made no sense. Honestly, I think OP can rest 100% assured the sister has legitimate feelings, but switched gears the second she realized it was going to pan out the way she'd hoped, and got away with it. Yeah, absolutely no way this was a test. I think I'd even be willing to bet this isn't the first of her brother's girlfriends that she's done this to, since he immediately just jumped to, oh, she's just testing you. I'd have walked. Yeah, too old for these stupid games. 29 years old? More like 9. Who would want to be a part of that family? That's a shitty thing to do. I think walking away is the right move. Yeah, how is that normalized? Oh yeah, she does that to all my girlfriends. She comes onto them, and it's always just a fun little test, and I didn't even warn you about it beforehand. I didn't say anything. Just thought, I'd let you get tested like she always does, because this is a normal thing. Oh my god, to be ignorant of social norms truly must be a phenomenal bliss, because whatever other reality he is living in, it's just so far from whatever my sense of normal is, and I would hope everyone else's sense of normal is, that it just blows my mind. There's no way that sister isn't aware of what she's doing and how she is manipulating him and everyone else around her. What a sick and childish game to play on someone, especially your own brother. I hope that she can't sleep well at night, honestly. I don't like her at all. Good luck, OP. If I were you, I'd do what everyone else is doing. Just walk. What is the point of marrying into that family if you ever do? What's the point of staying? That is just red flags ahoy. Our next post is by user I am not Lindsay Nagel, and it's titled, Am I the asshole for locking myself in my office when we have company? I, 36 female, took in my mother during the pandemic after some medical issues. I never made her move out after. It works for us. She has her own bedroom and bathroom, and we share other spaces, and I work from home most of the time so I can look after her. My stepdad died about a decade ago, and she was lonely. It made sense for us. As mentioned, I work from home most of the time, and a lot of times I'm in some kind of Teams meeting or call. Yes, even those that could be emails, but that's not important. So I don't really have time for chit-chat during office hours. My mum's sister, aka my aunt, tends to drop by unannounced to visit with my mum, which I don't really mind, but she had a tendency to step into my office without knocking while I'm working and start talking to me about her neighbor's sister's kid who did blah blah blah. I've more than once explained to her that I'm working and/or I'm on a call and I really can't chat right now, but she just keeps talking like nothing happened. Today, she actually announced to my mum that she was coming over. I reminded my mum to tell her that I'm working and on calls and can't be disturbed, and my mum agreed, and she would tell her not to bother me. But just to be safe, I locked my office door so she couldn't walk in. Despite my mum telling her, she came upstairs and tried to open the door, and when it didn't open, she started knocking and calling out, "Hello, it's me, open up." I didn't respond at first as I was on a call with a client, but she kept banging on the door so loudly, I ended up having to put the client on hold. I told her without opening the door that I was on a call and could not talk right now, and my aunt left in a huff. Now she's bombarding my mum with texts about how rude I was for locking myself in my office, knowing I was having company. So am I the asshole? In the comments, Ute Lawyer says, not the asshole. You didn't have company, your mother did, and it was while you were working. There's nothing to apologize for. Not the asshole, keep your door locked, rinse, repeat. Maybe she'll finally get the hint. If she doesn't, tell your mum she needs to meet her sister somewhere else. She can't come to the house while you're working. If she keeps ignoring boundaries, she can lose visiting privileges during work hours. It's not complicated to respect a closed door while someone's working. Of course not the asshole. Both your mum and aunt are being rude, irrational, and entitled. It's your space. Put your foot down and tell your mum that your aunt is not allowed to visit during working hours if she can't be respectful. Sadly, this seems like the only option. Refuse to let the aunt visit during working hours. If she can't respect boundaries, she doesn't get to visit during working hours, period. Yeah, no, you're not the asshole for this one at all. What is her problem? Has she actually been lobotomized or something to walk up the stairs, banging and screaming against a locked door, being like, you have company, open the door right now and talk to me. I know that you're in there working. I know you're working right now. You need to put it down because you have company. Seriously, I refuse to believe that people this socially inept actually exist. The functional part of her brain that says, hey, people have boundaries, people are working right now. The world is not all about me and it does not rotate around me, seems to be missing from this stupid woman's brain. Then to get in a huff and complain about it when you're told the obvious? Is she mentally 5 years old? It sounds like she's mentally 5 years old. Yeah, she's banned from the house during working hours. Why is this even a discussion? This is your house. These are your rules. Screw your auntie. Who cares about her? And now, on to the updates. So I go to dinner for a few hours, return to Reddit, only to find out that this has exploded. First of all, thank you all for your confirmation that this isn't on me. I did not think I was the asshole, but there was always that hint of doubt where you're like, maybe I should have poked my head out and said hello real quick, but the truth is that it was a busy day today and I just hadn't had the time. Now for the update. After I finished my workday, I took my mum out for dinner and we discussed the matter. She hadn't responded to any of her sisters, my aunt's texts, because she is fully on my side. I know people are asking why my mum didn't stop her. My mum isn't very mobile anymore, and my aunt simply got up from her seat and took off upstairs despite my mum's warning. We discussed it over dinner, and we agreed that my aunt simply is no longer welcome during office hours, since it's the only way to stop this behavior. Either she can pick up my mum to go to a coffee shop and talk, come after office hours, or come over on the one day that I work in office. My aunt seems pretty pissy about it, calling their brother, my uncle, to complain also, but he texted me earlier saying that he told her how wrong she was, and apparently her husband had also told her that she was wrong. So now she's currently stomping her feet at home because everybody is saying that she's wrong. Delightful woman she is. Remind me to one day post the story about her Disneyland trip. Update to the update. This is the Cliff Notes version of the Disneyland story. She has twin boys, and for their birthday, she booked a trip to take them and one of their friends out to Disneyland. The friend ended up cancelling last minute and told me if I paid the friend's share, then I could go. Reasonable enough, so I figured why not. I was 16 at the time of this story, and that was 20 years ago. I'm European, so this is Disneyland Paris I'm talking about. And I'm not from France, so this is an international trip, and this becomes important later. My cousins are maybe 10-ish at this point. So anyways, we're in the parks, and she's been a menace all trip already, but I'm dealing with it. It's the last day, about 5 hours before we have to take our train back home, international traveling train with customers, etc., like a plane would be, only less boarding time. One of my cousins wants to go on the rock and roll roller coaster and the other one doesn't. The line is like 5 minutes or less, so my aunt tells me to go with him and she'll wait at the exit with our bags. So I leave my bag containing my phone, my ID, my money, everything in her care. 10 minutes later, me and my cousin get out of the ride and she is gone. So I start looking around and cannot find her. After half an hour of waiting, maybe they went to the bathroom or something, still nothing. We go to check the bathrooms, neighboring rides, the works, but no auntie. I have no phone on me to call her, and with us having to leave for the train in 4 hours, I get nervous. I'm a 16-year-old with a 10-year-old in my hand, and no money, no ID, no phone, no nothing. So I decide to go to the lost kids department and explain my situation. They end up calling her through the park's intercom. Another hour goes by, no aunt. I remember my dad's phone number back home, so I use Disney's landline to call him. He tries calling her cell phone, my cell phone, no response whatsoever. At this point, I have like an hour or less before the train leaves, and I'm in hysterics because I can't board this train without money or ID, let alone with another minor. My cousin at this point, seeing my panic, is crying his eyes out too, so I'm also dealing with a scared child, and I'm barely an adult myself. My dad eventually tells me that it makes no sense for him to drive out to Paris right now, to go back to our hotel, and he'll pay for another night, and he'll come pick us up in the morning. So I take my cousin back to our hotel and explain the situation, and the receptionist hears me say my name and says, "Oh, sweetheart, I have a note for you. It's from your aunt. Gone to dinner, see you on the train." At this point, I have half an hour to run to the station, hoping we'll get through customs while she's supposed to be waiting. I make it with 15 minutes to spare. I'm out of breath and fuming. We end up making it through customs, God only knows how, and manage to get on the train literally as the door closes on us. I call my dad to explain the update, and he's also fuming at this point. To which my aunt turns to me and goes, "I don't know why you're so mad. I left a note at the hotel, and I brought you something to eat," and hands me a frickin' dinner roll. I took my stuff, went to the dining car with my cousin, who she almost abandoned, and gave him the biggest slice of chocolate cake my budget could buy, and never came back to our seats to talk to her. Am I the asshole here for telling an exchange student to not date my son, and possibly ending my marriage? So I, 40 female, have 2 kids. My daughter Liz, who is 12, and my son Toby, who is 19. I'm gonna be honest, Toby's become a perverted degenerate. Because Toby is his son, my husband, 54, tended to spoil Toby a lot and indulge his interest, which included 18-plus movies and my husband's stash of old Playboys. My husband would say, well, he's a teenager, let him be, despite me telling him that Toby was growing to be a degenerate. This was especially true for Asian women. We had an Asian cleaner, we're pretty well off, who Toby would hit on and harass until she smacked him across the face when he tried to lift her skirt. My husband wanted to press charges, but I threatened to divorce him if he did, and I would make sure everybody knew what a pervert Toby was. I made sure to give her a nice bonus before referring her to a friend, and then hired an older man in her place. Toby sulked for 3 months following that. I can already hear the comments, "Why threaten divorce when you could just do it?" And it's because I don't want to uproot Liz. I've been saving a small chunk of the weekly grocery money since she was born and have a lot saved in a secret account. I originally planned to get the best divorce lawyer once Liz goes to college and leave him, but considering everything that happened these past few hours, I may need to move my plans up. I realized I was basically groomed not long after Toby began exhibiting that problematic behavior, and I think fetishizing exotic women is hereditary, as my husband is white and I am Latina. Most of the community knows that I was groomed, so I have a lot of friends in the neighborhood because of it. They serve as my eyes, and it keeps Toby in check while in public, something that he makes clear annoys him. Anyway, our neighbor recently had his prior exchange student come back for a visit. He hosted a few years back. For the sake of the post, I will call her Kimmy. Kimmy is incredibly bright and happy. She's always smiling and waving at people in the street. This would be all fine and dandy if she hadn't done so to Toby, who she caught coming back from hanging out with friends. She was on my neighbor's front porch, having tea with my neighbor's wife, when they caught each other's eyes. To be honest, Toby was smitten, but I didn't trust it. I noticed he and Kimmy would talk for hours on the porch the following week, and we even had her over for tea a few times over the course of that week. Liz absolutely adores her, and the two would talk about fashion and the newest anime and manhwas. I have no idea if I spelt that right, but the Korean version of manga. Fast forward to 2 days ago, and we're having tea with Kimmy, my neighbor's wife, and I. Kimmy asked if she could possibly date Toby, and both the neighbor's wife and I froze up. I put down my cup, and I was blunt. I told her Toby was a lot like his father in the fact that he doesn't see women as a gentleman should. I brought up the Asian maid and told her Toby may look at her the same way, even if he doesn't seem to right now. I then explained my husband was the same way, love-bombing and cherishing me, and I realized too late the kind of man he was. My neighbor's wife cut in, says that she knows that I had tried to set Toby straight, but some nature is too strong to change. I then finished saying that if she did decide to date Toby, I would be honored. I also informed her that I'd have her back if Toby ever tried to pull anything shady, and so would most of the neighborhood. Kimmy silently nodded, seemingly understanding. Now, Kimmy is ignoring Toby. She came over this morning to pick up Liz for a shopping day, and Toby tried to say hi, but she just ignored him and told me goodbye before Liz shut the door. Toby mumbled a slur while pouting, and I had enough. I rolled my eyes and said something along the lines of, "And that's why I warned her about you." I honestly didn't mean to slip up, but I was exhausted from not sleeping. I have chronic migraines. Toby looked at me, and it looked like heartbreak. But I looked at him straight in the eyes and told him, "I tried to make you a gentleman, but you and your father kept acting like perverted asses. If you want to blame anybody, blame your father. He allowed you to become this way." Toby stormed to his room, and I got a text from my husband an hour later asking why I would sabotage my own son like that. I texted back basically the same thing, that I had enough of Toby looking at women like objects, and that if he had been a good father, I wouldn't view my son as a pervert. We had a chance to fix his behavior, but he enabled him. My husband is now furious with me, and Toby has yet to leave his room. Liz and Kimmy is still out, and I texted my neighbor's wife to ask if the two can sleep over at her place, since I have a feeling my husband is already going to start a fight with me. The neighbor offered to come over and act as a mediator and shield, as he's a big guy, and I took him up on that offer. I'm shaking, I'm scared, and I probably imploded my marriage, all because I warned a very kind girl about the kind of boy that my son is. I feel like I'm about to throw up. I have no idea what my husband is going to do or say. All I know is that he is mad, Toby is mad, but Liz and Kimmy are safe. My neighbor said that he's going to be over before my husband gets home, and I honestly am left wondering if what I did is actually for the best. Am I the asshole here for warning an exchange student about my son and ruining my marriage? In the comments, Hench Wench says, "Not the asshole. The fact that Toby reacted to rejection with a slur is all you need to know about how things would have gone with her." I think my jaw literally hit the floor when he responded to her guardedness with a slur. For a fraction of a second, I nearly felt bad for this kid, but all sympathy got sucked dry with that one. I do think you need to rethink your current living situation regarding you and your daughter, though. You are well aware that you live amongst perverts, and I'm sorry, but your daughter is 12. As sick as this sounds, she's not safe around your son now, and she's not going to be safe around him, period, at 16, 17, 18. Y'all gotta go. You're not the asshole, but you will be if you continue to let your daughter live in this type of environment. My gosh, I didn't even think about the daughter. The ones who are saying leave are correct, and you did the right thing in warning Kimmy about your degenerate stepson. Not the asshole. OK Passage says, "Before your husband gets home, start to get your shit out of the house, especially like important documents and stuff. Get a safety deposit box at a bank and put all the stuff in there if you can." Couldn't agree more. Those get away from the sick husband and son plans for Liz and herself have to be stepped up big time now. For Liz's sake, even more than her own at this point. Not the asshole, and holy shit, get the cavalry. The entire neighborhood is gonna want a piece of him if he hurts you. I'm sorry this is happening to you, OP. Does Liz know that her brother's a pervert? OP says, "You're sweet, thank you." Liz does know, and she never has friends over because she's scared that Toby will try something. Evil Mouse replies, "I don't think you know what this means. Your daughter is 12. Her friends are around that age. If she feels like she needs to protect her 12-year-old friends from her brother, that means there's a whole lot more going on that you're not yet aware of." When you get the chance to talk to Liz and let her explain what happened for her to want to protect her friends, get ready to get the police involved. Look, I really hope not, but that does sound incredibly grim, and it's not out of the realm of possibility. But to the question of the post, am I the asshole here for telling an exchange student to not date my son and possibly ending my marriage? No, I don't think so. It does seem like this was an untenable situation, and that given everything that's happened here, you probably should have left him quite a while ago. But I'm not one to say, "Oh, you should have done this. You suck for not doing so. You've put your daughter in danger. You've put yourself in danger. How dare you? That's bad parenting." Like, no, I'm not saying that. I understand that there seems to be quite a bit of financial coercion going on here. The fact that you have to save what is left of the grocery money in order to plan ahead for a divorce lawyer in the future. That kind of tells me a lot about what's going on in this situation. This is just abuse. It just sounds like so much abuse is going on. You're prepared to step up those plans? Do it as soon as possible and get out of there. This doesn't sound safe for either of you. And now, on to the update. Hello everybody. I just wanted to clarify a few things before I update you all. Toby is my son. I think a lot of people were under the impression that he was just my husband's. I guess I worded that strangely. Second, everything I've done to try to prevent any form of escalation of Toby's behavior was dismissed by my husband. Any punishments were immediately reversed when he got home. Thirdly, I got Toby tested for any form of mental disability after his first expulsion. He's been expelled twice, and he is neurotypical as far as the tests go. I got him tested for ADHD, ASD, OCD, and BPD. Fourth, my husband has never been violent towards my children and I. If he's upset, he'll direct that energy to something else or activity. Fifth, it feels like a lot of people thought that I was stealing from my family by skimming money from the grocery budget. But it was just spare change and notes from after shopping trips. It's not like I was stealing the entire grocery budget. And yes, I can hear and understand the "why haven't you left?" or "why didn't you do this?" It's taken a lot of talking between my family, friends, and now you people of Reddit for me to realize that Liz and I didn't deserve this, especially Liz. So, now for the update. I am filing for divorce. I packed Liz up and took her back to my home country for girls' time with her cousins. While there, I made and had a virtual appointment with 2 different lawyers from the same firm. They're currently drafting the paperwork, but they also recommended that I talk to local law enforcement about a possible protective order against Toby and my husband. Given their behavioral tendencies, I may consider it. And before everyone comes after me for abandoning Toby, this hurts me too. But at this point, I have to protect Liz. And if I plan to have full custody of her, which the lawyers said was highly guaranteed if Toby continues to live with my husband, then I need to separate myself from them. I'm still in my home country, talking to my family about everything. Just as I confirmed before, Toby's not gone after any of his cousins. I asked, since I needed any additional accounts for legal reasons. Right now, I'm okay, but honestly, I don't know if I'll update again. I just really want to put this entire situation at rest, so I may see you guys again, or I may not. But thank you all for the support, advice, and courage. In the comments, Bone Mathia says, "Please be careful. Your husband may have international law on his side if you file for divorce while out of the country, especially if you and Liz are not citizens of whatever country you are currently visiting. You need to make sure that the legal firm that you're working with is very familiar with international divorce and custody laws while you pursue this outside of the country that you and Liz have been living in. Also, as a follow-up to your last post, degeneracy is not hereditary. Fetishizing exotic women is not hereditary. These behaviors are not coded in DNA, they are taught, and your son was taught to behave this way by his father, which also means you're going to need to think about your role in your son's life. I would suggest you prioritize therapy for you and your daughter separately ASAP. DDJZ says, not the asshole here. Ignore the incels. I'm glad you're protecting yourself and your daughter. Traveler replies, I mean, husband was 34 and she was 21 when they had Toby. So not a huge surprise he's a predator just like his dad, and dad doesn't hold him accountable. I'm glad Opie realized, finally, and is protecting her daughter. Oh yeah, I kind of glossed over that age gap. Wow, that is a bit problematic, don't you think? I don't think a relationship between, at minimum, they met each other and hooked up and conceived straight away. A 33-year-old and a 20-year-old is a great basis for a relationship. For some reason, I've seen people in the comments being like, you guys will get mad about the darndest of things, that relationship gap isn't really all that bad. Why do you have to overhype these things? Back in my day, it was chill. We all had a chill time with it and no one complained. You guys are weak. Like, I'm sorry, but look at the empirical evidence in front of your eyes right now. Look at the incredibly abusive relationship between these two. You'd think that if we had more public awareness about the dangers of such big age gaps and their tendency to lead very abusive relationships for the younger woman involved, that, if that information was more publicly available, you'd have less young women like this having children and getting married to much older men like that because of the high risk involved. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. Obviously, this story isn't completely finished yet, but it's very new. All I can say is I hope that OP gets all of the help that she needs. I hope the divorce goes swiftly, and that she can separate herself from Toby. And from that husband, obviously. As said before, those two are not safe individuals to be around. You are in danger when you're with them. And as sad as it is that it is her own son that got to this point, OP is under no obligation to keep that son in her life if he is such a threat. She is very wise to stay away from him, so thank you for doing the right thing for yourself and for your daughter, OP. Still not the asshole. Our next post is by user One Sunch One Day, titled, Am I the asshole for wanting better etiquette from my husband? My husband and I have been together for 20 or so years. He's a genuinely good man. Great husband, loving parent, loyal friend. I feel fortunate that we are still in love after all this time. We have kind of a bestie vibe going. We really like to do things together, whether it's errands, shopping, cooking, impromptu adventures. Sometimes our teen is along with us, but sometimes not, as he has a growing social life. We had a dinner out tonight, and when our enjoyable meal was over and we had paid the check, he got up from the table and walked out, leaving me and our leftovers at the table. I'm always slightly slower to get up. He does this a lot, and it really bothers me. Am I wrong to want him to stand at the table and wait 2 seconds so we can walk out together? Also, when we're out together, or as a family, he will often walk ahead of me instead of next to me. For example, when we get out of the car in the church parking lot on Sunday mornings and walk to the church, I'm often left trailing behind. I have long legs, and I'm not a slow walker. I'm not ugly or weird or embarrassing, and he's not some degenerate who doesn't know better. So what's this about? When I've brought it up casually in the past, he brushes it off or deflects, but now I feel like we need to have an actual conversation about it. Am I the asshole here? And how do I go about broaching this without having to deal with an overly defensive reaction? In the comments, Waterwitch says, So, I had a husband who lacked what I thought of as manners too. If I brought it up, he declared that those things were unimportant. It wasn't until I reframed it as, these are things that make me feel loved and considered, that I got through to him and started making changes. So maybe reframe the discussion? OP replies, Yeah, this exactly. He does a lot of other thoughtful things. I'm starting to see it as a kind of love languages situation. Or just plain respect. All of us here says, not the asshole. Pro tip, hold hands more when walking. Even if you have to catch up, start holding hands. You may surprise him at first, it may be awkward, but you may get the results you want without saying anything. Plus, it builds intimacy. Why not just say something? Well, she says she has. Sometimes to get results, we need to try a different approach. Fair Quantity says, not the arsehole. Thankfully, if your relationship is so solid, you should be able to bring this up to your husband without offending him. Just explain how it makes you feel when he leaves without you or walks far ahead of you. He most likely isn't doing this on purpose and is either a fast walker or someone who zeroes in on the destination and loses focus of his surroundings because of it. I know people like this who don't mean to abandon people, but just do it without thinking. OP replies, he is totally about the destination. Thank you for this perspective. Farthada replies, I get tunnel vision like that too, and I have to keep checking to see if my wife is with me or I need to pause. Yeah, seems like a fairly innocuous kind of situation, but I guess it does bear questioning whether you are an asshole for bringing it up in a more sterner or more direct context, in which this case I don't think OP would be. And it's not like the casual conversation where she got dismissed was confrontational either. It doesn't give me the vibes that he recognized he was doing something wrong and didn't have anything to say and was like, you know what, I'm going to keep doing it and I'm not going to give you a reason for it. You just need to put up with it. I don't get those vibes. It was more like, he's like, I don't know. I just do those things, I guess. I didn't really think too much about it. And she didn't give off the vibe that this was more of a love language thing for her and that it had been annoying her. So no, not the arsehole for bringing it up. And I think you should take the advice of the comments. Either be direct about it and tell him that it's a love language of yours and that you would love to have that need be met, or do the more indirect approach and just keep holding his hand until you kind of teach him how you want to interact with him when you're going to a destination. I like both of those approaches, and I don't think anything bad is going to come from it. And now, onto the update. I really appreciated all the comments, ideas, and feedback. When I brought this topic up the next day, it didn't feel particularly well received, and I was frustrated with myself for not being more articulate and with him not being more open to conversation. I chalked it up as needing to be revisited in the near future. But we went away overnight with our son 2 days later, and I stopped counting examples of changed behavior at 7 or 8. From checking into the hotel to walking around town, dining out twice, walking to the beach and back multiple times, we walked together, he held doors, and even said to my son at one point, hang on, we're gonna wait for Mum. And my dear teen, without any prompting at all, scooped up leftovers of something that he and I shared at lunch before we left that restaurant. I did thank my husband repeatedly when he waited a beat for me, some verbally, some with just a smile. If this lasts, I'll be thrilled, and he does not seem to mind one bit. In the comments, Unlikely Foxing says, man, I would love to be like this couple. Either one of them, to be honest. Able to recognize a problem, but neither blow it out of proportion nor ignore it, and able to accept criticism and immediately learn from it and implement changes and grow as a person, without it being a massive uphill mental battle against ingrained habit on my part. And R. Baltimore says, I have a relationship like this and a husband who listens and is considerate. We've been married 18 years and together 26. We are not elderly, we just started dating young. My in-laws are like this too. They are absolutely adorable if I'm being honest. Partners like this are absolutely out there. You just have to be willing to be the same way. The ability to accept constructive criticism will get you really far in life. And if your partner can do it too, you'll be very happy together. Am I the asshole for not chipping in for a Gucci bag or a €3,000 birthday dinner that I didn't plan? I, 29 female, and my husband, 35 male, are a part of a close group of friends. We're all in our late 20s to mid 30s. Most of us are married or in serious relationships, and we usually celebrate birthdays together. The usual setup has always been that the birthday person hosts and pays for everyone. But about a year ago, this weird new tradition started. For each birthday, someone opens a WhatsApp group and says, "Let's all chip in for this really expensive gift." We're talking about things like Hermes flip-flops, Formula One tickets, Gucci bags, etc. It's all very public and a bit uncomfortable to say no. My husband and I have always gone along with it, even though it's felt a bit much at times. For example, we paid around €300 towards a €1,500 Formula One ticket for my husband's best friend. Let's call him Tom. At the time, it felt okay, but now things are different. We are already parents to one child. We're trying for a second, and we just opened a new business which we fully funded from our own savings. Everyone in the group knows this, including Tom. We're doing fine financially, but we're definitely being more careful. These expensive group gifts are not something that we feel comfortable doing anymore. A few weeks ago, it was my husband's birthday. One of the friends asked if I was going to open a WhatsApp group for a gift. I said no. My husband didn't want anything. We hosted everyone for a pool party, paid for everything ourselves, and were happy to do it. For the record, Tom gave my husband a nice bottle of tequila worth around €100. We appreciated it. I'm not complaining at all. I've never judged or compared gifts, and I've been genuinely grateful for every single one, no matter the price. 2 weeks later, it was Tom's girlfriend's birthday. He opened a group chat and said that she would like a Gucci bag. I told my husband that I didn't want to participate in this one. He agreed, and we didn't reply in the group, but we bought her a €120 massage voucher as a gift. Her birthday was held at a really fancy and expensive beach restaurant. We went, enjoyed the event, had fun, and made sure the birthday girl had a blast. A few days later, Tom wrote in the group that the bill was €3,000 and said that if anyone would like to contribute, they could. I told my husband that I didn't want to chip in. We didn't choose the place, we gave her a gift, and again, we are being more mindful about money right now. He obviously agreed. Then Tom messaged my husband privately and said he expected us to help with the dinner bill since we didn't join the group gift. He said our €100 gift wasn't enough, brought up the fact that we'd always participated before, including for his Formula One ticket, and said that we were being jerks for not pitching in at all this time. I honestly don't understand it. I've never once complained about the gifts we got. I've always been thankful, but suddenly we're being labeled as the rude ones just because we made a different choice this time based on our current situation. In the comments, Helpful Inside says, "Not the arsehole. Serving you with a bill after the fact, without informing you before the event that this would be expected, is not a fair, friendly move. If Tom wants to buy expensive Gucci bags for his girlfriend and plan 3K dinners, that's great, but he can't expect the same level of chipping in from everyone else. It's his girlfriend, not everyone's. If Tom was a good friend, he wouldn't have stepped on multiple boundaries and called you jerks for not paying for his ideas." Exactly. It's wild how quick some people are to throw labels like jerks when you simply set financial boundaries. OP was more than generous, and expecting anything beyond that without upfront agreement is just entitled. Not the arsehole. You can tell him that you're opting out of the tradition, and since you already had a birthday and didn't ask anyone to pay, that's the proof. I think, unfortunately, with many of these entitled, greedy people, you need to spell it out. You should have opened a group chat for your husband and explained your situation and said whatever you want to bring is fine, but we're opting out of these gifts for now, and still look forward to celebrating with everyone. See you at our party. Subtle doesn't work on the clueless. Something like, "I'm sorry you feel that way. Our situation has changed, and our finances are important to us, especially now we have our business and dependents. We didn't ask for something for my husband's birthday and footed the cost. We are happy not to receive gifts, but we can't afford to shell out $500 to $1,000 for every birthday. If you all wish to continue this amongst yourselves, we obviously don't mind, but please don't pressure us." Not the arsehole. Absolutely. And it's unfortunate that being subtle about it and slowly trying to wean off of it without saying so didn't come across to them. I don't understand how they didn't get that. And then on top of that, a €3,000 birthday dinner that you expect these people to contribute to and then guilt trip them because they didn't contribute earlier? What in God's name is going on? Don't have a birthday dinner at such an insanely expensive restaurant if you expect others to pay for it. And if you do, let them know beforehand. Give them some warning so they can deny your request afterwards. What is this? Don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness approach. No. Don't plan beforehand. Guilt them after the fact. Hell yeah, that's how you make friends and lose enemies. Everyone respects that hustle. I don't get the thought process. These are not normal people. I refuse to believe that this is normal behavior. No, you're not the arsehole OP. What's wrong with these people? And now, on to the update. After reading the comments, my husband and I realized that we hadn't been as clear with our friend group as we should have been. So we wrote a respectful message in our group chat with everyone that says, "Hi guys, first of all, we love you all. We just wanted to say that we're no longer participating in the group gift tradition. With our growing family and the new business, we're trying to be more mindful with money. We will always celebrate you in our own way. Thank you for understanding." Most people responded kindly and said they completely understood, and then one couple reached out to us privately and told us they're currently going through IVF. They said they've been feeling very uncomfortable with the pressure of the group gift tradition, but didn't want anyone to know what they were going through. They were afraid that if they opted out, people would ask questions. They were really relieved that we spoke up. We also spoke to everyone else individually. Aside from Tom, his girlfriend, and one other couple, everyone was glad to stop the expensive gift tradition. That one other couple preferred the group gifts because they found them more convenient, but they weren't upset at all and didn't cause any drama. They just said they'll go along with whatever the group decides. Tom and his girlfriend, though, didn't take it so well. Yesterday, Tom texted my husband saying our message in the group chat felt passive-aggressive and like we were throwing shade at him. His girlfriend messaged me and said that we should have just told her privately that we don't have the money, instead of announcing it in front of everyone. Whoa, the sass, huh? She was upset that now the tradition was over. I tried to keep it light and said, "No problem. My birthday's coming up and I want a trip to Thailand for my whole family." She didn't respond. To make sure there were no hard feelings, we also sent Tom €200 to cover our share of food and drinks from his girlfriend's birthday dinner. Then today, we spoke with them again, and things got even more frustrating. They told us that our decision not to do any more group gifts, or any gift at all, for my husband's birthday came off as condescending and inconsiderate, as if we're better than them for not wanting gifts. Apparently, it made life harder for everyone. That was never our intention. We just genuinely didn't want anything and were happy to host and celebrate without gifts. As a group, we've all now agreed to go back to the old tradition. The birthday person hosts everyone. When we were younger, that usually meant breakfast, lunch, or dinner at home. Nothing over the top. It felt more personal and less stressful, and everyone seems happier going back to that. Lastly, my husband and I have decided to take a step back from Tom. This whole situation made it clear that a lot of people in the group feel like they can't say anything around him without him getting offended. We're not angry, we are just tired. We want to enjoy our friendships without walking on eggshells. Thanks again to everyone who commented on the original post. You helped us see that we weren't crazy for feeling the way we did. In the end, we think this reset was needed. For us and for the group. Info, we're a group of 5 couples. In the comments, According Pizza says, "Solid update. Honestly, all this makes me wonder about Tom and his girlfriend's financial situation. It sounds like they're living beyond their means. If they were secure financially and not pressed either way, I'm not sure why they'd take such offense to this, unless they're just image-obsessed and materialistic and enjoyed flaunting these gifts for status, etc. Either way, you and your hubby did great, and I'm sure the larger group appreciates returning to a sense of normalcy. Hopefully Tom and his girlfriend get over themselves soon. Funny how Tom got very expensive F1 presents, but skimped on what he gave OP's husband, his supposed best friend. Obviously, he just wants group gifts because he scored well out of them. Comparatively speaking, I mean. $100 on tequila is still a lot of money for booze, and OP's husband and OP don't care about it. They're just happy for a genuine thought. But on principle, Tom is an asshole. Dude, that whole situation sounds like a mess. Honestly, you guys shouldn't have given Tom the €200 after his reaction, but I get why you did. Good on you for standing your ground. Life's too short for expensive mandatory gifts and drama. Not the asshole, man. Enjoy the eggshell-free friendship space. Also, hopefully that helps the other couples feeling the pressure but not speaking up. Good on you for breaking the ice on this discussion. Totally agree. Group gifts like that always turn messy. OP just said what others were probably thinking but didn't want to say. Setting boundaries isn't rude, it's necessary. Tom and his girlfriend are reacting this way because you've handled yourself with grace. They think that you're better than them because they're aware that there's no way to socially pressure you into participating without looking bad themselves. Lives and priorities change. Your other friends understand that. Yeah, I think it was really interesting that they reacted the way they did, because it made it clear that Tom just wanted to control everyone. He wanted to use the fear of social isolation and being the minority in a group of people that are going along with something as a means to control the herd. It sucks being the one that has to stand up and go against the pack and be like, no, actually, this isn't sustainable. I don't like how things are. Something needs to change. Because look at how both of them privately came after you and were like, oh, stop, rocking the boat. I don't like it when you rock the boat. It hurts me. Think about me for a second. I like the boat as it is. And I guess I'm not your friends. I don't know how your friends were feeling, but it makes sense that a lot of other people were not on board with this and were just going along with it because everyone else was going along with it. But honestly, knowing people with money or flaunting money with credit cards, it could have just as easily gone the other way, where no, genuinely everyone else is pissed off at you that you're trying to break that tradition. But even in that case, it would have been fine for you guys to bow out and that group of 4 couples just do their own thing. There was nothing wrong with how you approached this. There's nothing wrong with what you did. It's just 2 assholes showed their asses, showed that they were taking advantage of everyone else's kindness, and they're getting the consequences that their actions wrought. Who would have thought? Sucks to be them, I guess. Anyway, thank you for the story, OP. Don't give in to a situation like this again. Lesson learned. Our next post is by user iBleedAudio, and it's titled, Would I be the asshole if I don't remind my wife it's my birthday? So I've been married for 6 years, and I love my wife dearly. However, there's been a disconnect between us. I feel like I'm more invested in our relationship than she is. I'm always the first to apologize when we argue. I'm always the one to press issues so that we can talk, and the one who typically bends so that we can find balance. Today is my birthday, and so far, it's like she has no idea. We went through the normal motions this morning, talked about our day, and she asked if we can grab takeout tonight from her favorite place, so she's clearly forgot. I'm not someone who makes a big deal about things like birthdays, but also, I guess I'd like to have it acknowledged. I'd like that reassurance that I matter to people. I mean, I feel kind of invisible in my own life sometimes, and I just want to know that people care. I guess I'd like to know if I'm a priority to her, to see if she'd even acknowledge my birthday if I don't prompt her. I mean, I took out for hers, I got her gifts that she loved, etc. I'm just curious if I would even hear the 2 words if I didn't say anything. Would I be the asshole if I continue to go through today without telling her? Here's some comments by OP. I mean, she isn't a terrible wife. Normally things are good between us, but it's just lately it feels like there's a disconnect, and I'm not really sure how to address it. She has a history with trauma, so her communication isn't great, and often just assumes that I should know that things that she's thinking or make the same connections as she does. I don't really know how to address that, I guess. On if the wife had a habit of forgetting things, no, not really. She has a history of hating her own birthday and tries to avoid it, so I kind of have to dance around that to show that I care. Maybe she downplays mine because she hates her own. I don't know. I'm not doing it to be petty or anything, just sometimes it feels like no one would really notice if I disappeared. Today just feels like that, I guess. I'm not doing it as a gotcha moment or building ammunition or anything. I'd rather it wasn't the case, but I'm just letting it play out and seeing if she realizes or if it matters to her. I don't really care about gifts. I mean, I'm an adult that kinda buys things as I need them. It's more just that she forgot. I'd like to feel like I matter enough to her to remember. I'd like her to just wish me a happy birthday, as stupid as that sounds. I'm not going to throw things away over this. That would be ridiculous. I'm just not going to deny that it hurts she's forgotten. Like, she'll keep up to date on things that she's passionate about and tell me about them all the time, but something like this just gets dropped. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go this route. I don't want to tell her and have her just be reactionary. I'll tell her tomorrow and how it made me feel and try to work on us. Others people's birthdays matter to her, but not her own. Prior to our relationship, hers was never a priority to her family, partners, etc. I try to do something each year to show her that I care and that that trend isn't continuing. My family usually tries to get together for dinner on our birthdays. Not like a party or anything, but just a you matter to us kind of thing. My wife has been invited to each one of these, and we've celebrated hers as well. In the comments, South Industry says, not the asshole. It's your birthday. You can do whatever you like about it for whatever reason. But the fact that you feel a need to test her tells me that your relationship is struggling. This is about more than the birthday. You two should probably address that in some other, calmer context than, you forgot my birthday. How about no? Why don't we grab takeout from my favorite place, since it's my birthday, and see if the penny drops? Not the arsehole. Happy birthday. If you don't have to work, I say tell her that you need to run some errands and then go out and do what you want to do for your birthday. Once your day is gone, you may also want to consider if you'd be happier with a partner that more closely matched your energy, or at least did the bare effing minimum. Update us when she remembers. Very curious to hear what gift she got you for your birthday. Reddit is doing its Reddit thing. Look, in more serious situations, I can understand being like, maybe consider a partner that closely matches your energy. Like, I get it when, your partner is neglecting you for real, or if your partner is seriously gaslighting you, or if your partner is really genuinely hurting you, but forgetting your birthday is not a divorceable sentence. Some of these teenagers in the comments need to go outside, I swear to God. I understand, in their heart of hearts, they're trying to reassure OP and go the extra mile by saying things other than just, no, it's your birthday, she's wrong for doing that. There's your affirmation. We're extending it by saying, you know what, you're not wrong, she's wrong, and, extra bonus, you don't have to be with someone like that. You deserve the best, king, here's your crown. Sometimes people forget things, that's okay. And in these situations, it's okay to remind your partner that, hey, it is my birthday. Sorry if this slipped your mind. I'm kind of upset that you forgot, but hey, we can move past this. That's an okay thing to do as well. I think you're not the asshole for this one though, OP. Sorry you're going through this. And now, onto the update. So yesterday was my birthday, and I was under the impression that my wife had forgotten. I got all up in my head questioning a lot of things in our marriage. My wife had earlier mentioned getting fast food from one of her favorite places, and it made me think that my birthday wasn't even on her radar. Well, following the advice I received, I didn't say anything to her. I went to pick her up from work and give her her keys. We're at one car between us because mine's in the shop, and everything played out as normal. However, instead of going to Crushed Red like she had mentioned, we pulled up to my favorite Mexican restaurant that we only go to on special occasions. Over the course of one massive burrito and some deep margaritas, we got to talking. She said that it was really hard not to say anything, but she wanted to surprise me. I told her how I had felt, and she was immediately apologetic. She blamed herself, and I told her that she had nothing to apologize for. She was trying to surprise me, and I could have remedied everything by just communicating. We talked about our relationship a bit and had a good night. She asked me what I'd like to do, and I just wanted a simple night, so we went home and watched a movie together that I'd been trying to get her to see, which was The Raid Redemption, to which she actually really liked. All in all, it was a good night, and a lot of my fears were misguided. I felt like I owed you guys an update after so many of you reached out yesterday. I hope you all have a good day. And here are some more comments by OP. I mean, to be fair to her, we spent most of that day working. We currently work in the same building, and she didn't have a whole lot of time to do or say much. I was stuck working and spiraling a bit for several hours. She was looking to surprise me with it after we got off work. Honestly, she really is good to me. I was in an abusive relationship for years before her, and ever since, I've been on high alert for red flags to keep from having it happen again. This leads to me sometimes seeing things in a more jaded light than they need to be. She really is great, and while communication isn't perfect sometimes, we both really try. I mean, I did my best to not let on how I was feeling. I think if I'd been more honest about it, she would have definitely responded. She wasn't being deliberately hurtful. It was an oversight and bad communication. She just wanted to surprise me, and to be fair, she did. Yeah, we both have past traumas, and it leads to us both being people pleasers. That makes communication hard sometimes, but we both really try our best at it. I know her well enough to know her tells. She was being genuine. Plus, this place is the kind of place you need to get a reservation. It gets crazy busy at night. She'd already booked us a table. This was planned. Honestly, she is doing a lot. With my car being in the shop, she's driving us both to work, even though I'm scheduled an hour before she is. She just chills for an hour to help me out. I also probably would have gotten more attention, etc., if I hadn't been dismissive. I played it off like it was fine and gave short answers to her messages. This was mainly on me and not communicating well. I mean, once it clicked on what her plan was, etc., I stopped feeling hurt. If anything, she felt so bad for making me feel that way, even if it was inadvertent. I told her not to hold on to it, and that I wasn't upset anymore now that I understood the situation. I could have said something to her at any point, but was getting in my own head and digging myself deeper. I enjoy surprises. It was the not acknowledging my birthday up until that point that hurt. I really think she didn't mean to hurt my feelings at all. It just was accidental, and I'm not going to hold it against her. Velvet Drizzly says, Bro went from she forgot my birthday to we're bonding over burritos and beating people up in the raid. Emotional roller coaster, but 10 out of 10 ending. OP replies, Yeah, honestly, I can't explain it. It's what I was feeling at the moment. Figured that I'd tell it like it happened. This is so relatable for me. I'm glad after the spiraling there was this outcome. Sounds like a great birthday evening to me. I, for one, really like the amount of times that OP commented and responded here, because it gives so much more context and life to the situation that OP is really just overthinking things, and that they were bad at communicating, and the wife was also bad at communicating. I think a lot of this tension could have been eased if she had not just committed so hard to the surprise bit of the surprise birthday that she didn't even acknowledge his birthday at all until they were going to the restaurant. Like, what is up with that? She did cause a lot of the frustration here by not just saying, Happy birthday, husband. What would you like to do today? Oh my God, it's so exciting. It's your birthday. Let's hype you up. Like, that genuinely is her fault. But it's also his fault for not speaking his mind clearly to his wife, who he should be able to trust, when his feelings were hurt, and being short and snappy with her. I understand why people react that way, but it's not healthy. It leads to situations like this. Look how much could have been avoided if you just spoke your mind and vented your frustrations. Look, I get that you shouldn't do that all the time, and how that can also piss off your partner, and how that can mentally affect them. So clearly you gotta go at your own pace, But clamming up entirely and then internalizing everything is not healthy. And everyone should get better at communicating because all of this could have been avoided, I feel like. Anyway, I'm glad it all worked out for you, OP. I'm glad you had such a gigantic burrito. Sounds delicious. Keep up the good energy.